Hey everyone, it's time for another reaction video. So what are we going to be reacting to today? Well, about 6 months ago, a guy named Dr. Mike, he has a very, very large YouTube channel. It does great content on all kinds of medical stuff. So very reliable science communicator. He went on, I think everybody by now is familiar with those little Jubilee things where there's one person in the center and a bunch of people with the opposing opinion surrounding them. So he went on there and he did one with a bunch of anti-vaxxers. Got a ton of views. I think it has like 11 million views at this point. I did not watch it at the time when it came out. I watched like 2 minutes of it. I just kind of like looked at a little section or something, and it just pissed me off immediately. So I was like, I'm not watching this. But I remembered it randomly the other day and was like, hey, this would be a good reaction video. It's very long. It's like 90 minutes. So you know what that means. This is going to be a very long reaction video. I would guess at least 3 hours, because I'll pause a lot and I'll get angry and talk quite a bit. So that's what we're going to be reacting to today. I want to get a couple things out of the way first. The last time I did a reaction video, I got, no joke, at least 100 comments about my television over there and talking about there's a plastic wrap on it or there's something, I don't know what you guys, there's nothing on the TV. Please stop. Please stop with the comments about having something that I have to take off my TV. I've had that TV for like 15 years. I barely use it. It's just I play Nintendo 64 on it like once a year. This is my office, by the way, not my living room, to all the trolls who want to pretend that this is like my studio apartment or something. This is my office, but there's nothing on there. Please stop. Please stop. I can't take it anymore. Stop talking about my TV. There's nothing to peel off. There's nothing on the TV. It's a glare or something. I don't know what you guys are seeing. So there's that. And then also, we're going to drink a little bit today because I'm about to listen to Anti-Vaxxers for 90 minutes. So we're going to put, there's a tiny bit of Lafroig left, so we're going to polish that off. And then we'll move back over to the Oben. I had my pronunciation. Now, that's okay. I'll take the corrections of my mispronunciation. I think that's a constructive comment. So Oben, I think, is probably how you say it. So a lot of people said that. So we're going to drink a little bit of scotch, and we're going to listen to Anti-Vaxxers for 90 minutes plus however long I end up rambling. We're going to do that because I've been doing a lot of anti-vax stuff. I did my RFK video, and then I did the live debate in New York, and I talked to Piers Morgan. I'm on a streak here with the anti-vaxxer. So we're going to keep it going. I'm going to do this reaction video. It's 10:30. It's not the latest that I've started one of these, but yeah, this is going to go late. But I can't do these until my kids go to bed, and then me and my wife will, eat something and then watch a little TV and so once everyone's finally to rest, I can do this kind of stuff. So that's what we're gonna do. So Dr. Mike versus the anti-vaxxers. We're reacting. Let's start now. Before we start, let's introduce today's sponsor. While the anti-vaxxers you're about to be subjected to want to go backwards to the Dark Ages, where we were helpless against pathogens, most of us are looking forward to the high-tech civilization rapidly unfolding. How can you be sure you'll have a role to play in the futuristic, hyper-digital utopia/dystopia we're racing towards? Well, let me introduce you to boot.dev. Have you ever wanted to learn how to code? Boot.dev is for you. It's the easiest way to learn Python, SQL, Go, and TypeScript. And apart from being super simple and hands-on, it's also gamified into a fantasy theme where Boots the Bear Wizard helps you along your quest as you gain experience points while building real projects. It's like playing an RPG, but you're also getting ahead in life. I went through the first few lessons, and even though I'm pretty technologically incompetent, I found it intuitive and easy to progress. There are daily quests that allow you to earn rewards, community boss battles, and more. Try to top the leaderboard, complete every course, build asteroids, learn cryptography, and when you're done, get cracking on finding that new dream job so you can watch your salary skyrocket. All the content is free to read and watch, but you can also become a member to unlock interactive features with either a monthly or yearly plan. This gives you full solutions for all lessons and access to infinite practice in the training grounds, as well as certificates of completion. Use the QR code you see on your screen or go to boot.dev and use code Professor Dave to get 25% off your entire first year on the annual plan. With a a 30-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. That's boot.dev and use code Professor Dave to set off on your enchanted coding quest today.
He's not necessarily anti-vaccine, but he wants safe vaccines.
Yeah, so I'm pointing out that I think RFK Jr. is a threat to public health. You're saying he's being hypocritical.
Yeah, he's being hypocritical.
Absolutely.
And
do you know who the #1 hypocrites are? Healthcare providers.
The reality is, if we don't get vaccinated with Jesus, we will face God on Judgment Day.
I'm Dr. Mikhail Varshavsky, better known as Dr. Mike across social media. I'm a board-certified family medicine physician who makes content online improving health literacy. And today, I'm surrounded by 20 vaccine skeptics.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'll just wait until we get to those parts, but there's some Jesus stuff going on. Obviously, a lot of RFK fans here. So I think that doing this reaction now is a good idea. I'll have a lot of stuff ready to go here. So let's begin.
My first claim is that anti-vaccine lies cost lives.
Okay, right.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Excited to talk about health.
I just had a baby, 7 months old. And, you know, my baby, I was like, no, I'm not getting any vaccines. The doctors came in, they made me feel like a very bad mother for not doing that, right? I was very pressured. And then I had a family friend who had a baby at the same time, was a few months in, gave vaccines to the baby, and the baby had seizures and has had seizures since. And I've also had a friend who I went on a mission trip with, and this pastor was totally healthy, two young girls, and this pastor literally got a heart attack out of nowhere. And the only thing was he took the vaccine. And there's...
Okay, I'm gonna try really hard to not be a jerk, because Dr. Mike is a nice guy, way nicer than me. But okay, so we're gonna start. Oh, I didn't fill up my glass here yet. I'm gonna start as calmly and nicely as possible. So if you watched the Pierre Corey Steve Kirsch debate, the main point I had there was that anti-vaxxers always have nothing but narratives, and we're starting here with some narratives. So a baby got the vaccine and immediately started having seizures. No, that did not happen. And then a pastor got a heart attack, and the only thing was he got a vaccine. The only thing, he didn't do anything else. There's nothing else he did his entire adult life but get a vaccine. There's no other explanation for him to have had a heart attack other than he got a vaccine at some undisclosed time, probably a month prior. This is what they do. This is the VAERS database too, right? There's genuine trolls that go on the VAERS database and say, I got a vaccine and then my dick exploded, or some ridiculous trolling shit like that. And then there's people who get a vaccine and then a month later something bad happens to them and they go, the vaccine did it because I say so, right? Nothing but narratives. There's nothing even remotely scientific about this line of thinking. This is the Jesus lady, so that's pretty easy to wrap your head around what's going on here.
There's many cases like that.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the birth of a 7-month-old. The fact that anyone made you feel bad in the healthcare system, I feel like is a failure on us in the healthcare system, so I'm sorry that happened to you. In healthcare, it's very difficult to predict the future because there are so many unknowns and there's so many variables in healthcare. There are things that are that are outside of our control, and we try to do the best with the limited amounts that we can control. So when we see two things happen simultaneously in healthcare, sometimes we think they have caused one another. But unless we see a pattern of that happening over and over again on a large scale,
right,
it's more likely that this is just a coincidence of things happening at the same time. For example, I have a friend of mine who's a physician who vaccinates children very regularly. And they were about to give a child the vaccine, and before giving the vaccine, the child had a seizure. They went on and had more seizures throughout their life and ended up actually dying at a very young age because of a seizure disorder. But the vaccine was never given. Had that happened 2 minutes later, What do you think would have been in the mother's mind and in the father's mind in that situation, other than, I definitely think that vaccine caused that problem? But it could have just as easily happened before, which it did, and the vaccine wasn't responsible.
Yeah. So Mike's going about this a very level-headed, measured way. But the point is that, I mean, everyone's heard correlation does not equal causation. But that's the thing about anti-vaxxers is like this pastor guy who had a heart attack. What did he eat for lunch that day? Why doesn't the anti-vaxxer go, oh my God, the thing that he ate, the ham sandwich, gave him a heart attack? Like, why? And I'm not saying that it did. It's years of whatever kind of behavior caused that heart attack, or there's a lot of reasons why somebody could have a heart attack. But why do they always fixate on vaccines as the cause here, and instead of looking at any number of other things that happened around that time, right? Because there's a very particular narrative that they've been that they have chosen to latch onto and make part of their identity and fight against the system. And this is how it works. So that was handled pretty well, I think.
So it's very difficult when two things happen at the same time to be able to make an exact reason as to if that's what happened to cause it. So what we do is we admit that there's safety issues with vaccines.
Right.
They're not 100% safe. Nothing in life is 100% safe. Driving or walking here today is not 100% safe. I could have a heart attack right now. Cannot predict it. But what we can do is try to do the best that we can with the information that we have.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Dr. Mike.
That was smooth. Hello.
He's got that wrist flowing. I'm actually a fan of your channel. I've been watching for a while.
Thank you.
I am a pediatric hematology oncology nurse.
Wow, okay.
I think a lot of mistrust in my eyes were opened during the whole COVID pandemic.
Why?
Institutions that were there, I used to be in the military, so when I was in the military, I signed my bodily autonomy away. If they told me to do something, I did it.
And thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
No, I say that in all seriousness because I think a lot of times that kind of becomes habit just to say thank you, but I really do mean that thank you.
I appreciate that. So seeing, how Dr. Fauci, who was just pardoned, and that's a whole other discussion.
I think I have to do a Fauci video sometime because, the way that Fauci has been elevated to, Satan status with anti-vaxxers and MAGA idiots, it's a case study. People are going to study this decades in the future where they're like, here's this guy Fauci, and half of the world decided that he's Satan. Why? A couple of offhand statements that weren't exactly 100% precisely correct, or a few $100,000 of funding that went to this one particular lab that means absolutely nothing. It just blows my mind how they will demonize that guy, and then they'll take RFK, who was a fucking monster, and pretend he's a saint. The complete reversal of reality with anti-vaxxers. Also, the not as rare as it should be anti-vaxxer nurse. This is disturbing. Let's see how nuts she is. She seems not too far gone, but I don't know what she's going to talk about.
Seeing how we were sold a bill of goods that we, the American tax dollars, paid for, while these pharmaceutical companies reaped millions and millions of profits on. And I think that...
Okay, let's read this. Yeah, I mean, significant COVID bump in profits. I mean, I think that's more stock going up for having created they didn't make a ton of money off of vaccines. They made some money off vaccines, but they make a lot more off of other drugs. But this is the narrative, right? Some go so far as that COVID isn't even real and it was just an excuse for pharma to make these vaccines to make money and also kill people because reasons. So yeah, pharma didn't make an enormous amount of money on the vaccines. So yeah.
As the goalpost, the vaccine, this mRNA vaccine, it's going to prevent the transmission of COVID. It's going to prevent you from getting it. And others, if you don't get this vaccine, you hate your grandmother. You're going to kill all these people, and you got to do your duty and get it. Well, you know what? My grandmother got it, and she died. I saw her take her last breath.
I'm sorry.
And it's a very it's a very profound thing to see someone that you love take their last breath and go on to whatever happens after.
Of course.
Okay, from what? From the vaccine? Like take their last breath from the it sounds more like she died from COVID, but I don't know. But this rhetoric here, it's like, oh, they said you're gonna blah blah blah. I mean, all that stuff is fairly true. Like the unvaccinated, the people who didn't get the COVID vaccine killed people. Like that's what happened. They were a host pool. They got COVID, or they at least were carrying the virus to then transmit it to others, because people who didn't get vaccinated also were like, fuck social distancing, and they went and had parties and orgies and all this ridiculous crap. You people who did that, you killed people. Like you definitely did. Like it's not as bad as shooting someone in the head, but people died because of the collective action of those people, disproportionately old people. So if you want everyone to feel sympathy for your dead grandmother, why don't you feel any sympathy for all of the old? Like I know, I have friends with parents that died from COVID that weren't vaccinated. Where's the sympathy for those people? And where is the anger towards the people who didn't get the vaccine, right? I mean, I don't know. It's a very one-sided thing here.
So when those seats, and it turns out the 6 feet of social distancing was not based on anything, how can you not expect?
Like, I'm so fucking tired of this talking point. This 6 feet is not based on anything. Okay, the number 6 wasn't based on that much, but also not nothing, right? The virus is transmitted through aerosol droplets, so they look at how far do the aerosol droplets travel. I mean, some less than 6 feet, I suppose some more than 6 feet, but it's just like, what, you have to pick a number, and it has to be more than 1 foot, and it can be less than 30 feet. You can get closer than that to get. So they said 6. Who gives a shit? The point is, when you have a global pandemic associated with a transmissible disease that you get from breathing and coughing on each other, try to not get that close to each other. What's so fucking hard to understand about that? And you're gonna fix it, like you're trying to act like that the number 6 was selected relatively arbitrarily, not even that arbitrarily, but you're gonna fix it on that and pretend that social distancing as a concept had no basis? Like, what are you talking about? It's a communicable disease. Try not to get too close to each other. And there wasn't anything draconian about it. Nobody stopped you from going to your friend's house or going to a thing or whatever it was. It was just like, hey, by the way, maybe try not to all get together all the time. Like, just do less of that. And people are like, authoritarianism. It's insane. I'm so tired of it.
People to question these higher institutions that are deemed to look out for the well-being of people, and they don't.
It's a great question.
Yes, they do. And I'm sorry, Mike, it's not a good question. You're being too charitable. The other thing I'm going to try not to do is be critical of Dr. Mike's tone and approach, because we all have a different one. And I think I haven't seen too much of his content, but I get the impression that he's a very solid science communicator, and he is free to select his own tone. I presume he's going to be way more charitable than I would be, and also more than I think is appropriate. But as long as he's providing all accurate information, that's going to be fine. But that's not a good question. It's not a good line of reasoning. Nothing she's saying is reasonable. I'm sorry.
So just like with Black people who don't trust the government because based on the Tuskegee experiment in 1932, actually 40 years after that, the New York Times, they actually infected them with syphilis, and they let them...
No, they did not. They did not infect them with syphilis. There was a control group that they told were getting treated for syphilis, and then they didn't, because they're the control group. So, tremendously unethical, but get the fucking story straight. They didn't infect anyone with syphilis. Totally appropriate for African American people to be skeptical of... It was a bad thing. They did a bad thing. It was a very long time ago. It was, it says here, the 30s to the 70s. So a long time ago, universally deemed to be tremendously unethical. They did not infect anyone with syphilis, okay? So get it straight. But you can't go, the government did a bad thing 60, 70 years ago, therefore I'm never going to trust any medicinal technology under any circumstances, no matter how dire a pandemic. Like, that's insane. That's insane. So get your history straight and then properly contextualize it. It's okay to go Tuskegee bad, but vaccines good. They had nothing to do with each other, right? It's insane.
In fact, their families, their friends, it ran rampant. So how do you expect certain people, when they've been burned by the government, to all of a sudden, all right, well, I'll trust you now? Ultimately, it's people's choice. Just like if someone wants to refuse a treatment, we give them an AMA form against medical advice. I think it's all up to people's choice and their autonomy.
There was a few topics that you touched that I think are really worth discussing. First, bodily autonomy. I believe that, and that is the sole principle by which we practice medicine. Vaccines fall in a unique category because your decision on vaccinating your child and then sending them to school can impact other children in that school. So much like drinking and driving as an example, your choice to do that puts your life at risk, but it also puts others at risk. So we deem that as dangerous for the general public. This is why vaccines, it becomes a little more complicated when we talk about bodily autonomy. When it comes to our government, our mandates, pharmaceutical companies, there's absolutely reasons for distrust. I love that everyone in this room is a skeptic, and I encourage skepticism. I don't think anyone should just go into a doctor's office and say yes, 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 yes. In fact, I love when my patients question me. I empower them to ask questions. Doctors sometimes get this attitude where they're like, oh, you Googled before coming here? Google search doesn't replace my degree. No, that's not how we're supposed to be.
Okay, laying it on a little thick here. Ultimately, a decent message. It's okay to like. I think a better message would be like if you are skeptical of what a doctor has told you, go and get a second opinion, right? See another doctor. There are bad doctors. There are good doctors who make mistakes. It's totally okay to not take what one doctor says as gospel. Absolutely. But the other side of the coin here is that a lot of people are idiots that have no idea what's happening. They don't know anything about the human body, anything about medicine whatsoever, like truly not even a middle school level understanding of anatomy and physiology. And then they think that they know better than a doctor. It's bananas. So don't do that. You should trust your doctor more than you trust your own ignorance. But yes, ultimately, they're not guaranteed to be right. You can get another opinion. You can talk to other doctors. But just, so many reasons to be skeptical of pharma. I mean, kind of, right? There's a little bit. They're not any gigantic industry. You're going to have some malfeasance somewhere. So there's something to talk about. But ultimately, big pharma is another one where it's just like, it's so hard to wrap my head around how big pharma has been elevated to this status of the fucking devil, or like the big pharma owns the galaxy, and it's like Emperor Palpatine is how people see big pharma. It's insane. They just make drugs, and then I don't know, they like bribe doctors sometimes to prescribe it off label, or there's like a little bit of corruption here and there, but it's like. Like they're just like everything pharma bad. It's idiotic. I'm sorry.
What I get excited about is if you Googled and you have questions, now I know exactly the route I need to take to help you make a decision that's right for you and your family.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
How you doing?
Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, Root Scott. Good to meet you as well.
Love the jacket.
Thank you so much. So I really want to talk to you about this claim based on all of the other things that are causing disease, the chronic conditions that are in this country, all of the metabolic issues, and this is stemming from colonization. Putting smallpox blankets on indigenous cultures, sterilizing people in Puerto Rico, Honduras, all of these different things that have happened. And if you look at Africa, oh, by the way, Bill.
I'm sorry, what the fuck does colonists murdered indigenous Native Americans with smallpox blankets? That absolutely happened. What the fuck does that have to do with anything today? Like, I don't know. I have a feeling I'm going to really dislike this person.
Gates did say something interesting. The next war will be fought with biological warfare. And I think that was raising eyebrows, especially when you look at the Kissinger report, right? For those of you who don't know about the Kissinger report, it's all about pretty much reducing the population of the planet. So I don't know how you can make this claim and really defend vaccines in the nature and the world that we're living in, where we are actually going away from nature. And the further we get away from nature, the more diseases we will see.
No, that's not correct, right? We use our knowledge of science, we use our understanding of medicine, we use our ability to create medicinal technology to bring us away from natural child mortality rates of 50%, away from natural life expectancy, which was 30 prior to the 20th century. We used our knowledge of science to figure out how to rid ourselves of the tyranny of pathogens. It's a fucking miracle. And so to reject vaccines, to reject things like antibiotics and vaccines is insane. You're an insane person, and you watched a few podcasts and you're on your high horse about your naturalism and colonialism. It's very misplaced. I think that with a lot of anti-vaxxers, like, there's a justifiable rage against the system, but they're too dumb to know how anything works, so that rage gets misplaced. Like, there's a way, like, I have a lot of rage towards the American government right now. I mean, in general, every administration since I've been born, I hate every single U.S. presidential administration that has existed since I've been alive. They're all bad. The current one is the worst by far, but at least, well, actually, I mean, you could make arguments in terms of just death toll for like Bush Jr. or something like that, but it's a very, very bad one. And I have a lot of rage towards that and a lot of, particular figures, but you can't just like get an inkling of that rage and then just throw it anywhere you want without any clue what you're talking about. And this guy definitely does not know what vaccines are, how they work, and he has he brought up smallpox. Like, do you understand how incredible it is that we eradicated smallpox? Do you know how many people have died of smallpox and how amazing it is that we don't have it anymore? That's vaccines. So show some gratitude, dude.
So, I'm very passionate about this, and I want to be able to have like a real discussion with you because, yes, you're a medical doctor, but this is also a system that J.D. Rockefeller started, getting rid of all types of indigenous practices, and this land is stolen land. So when we're not even honoring the source, when we're not honoring the land, the ancestors, ancestral intelligence, the real AI.
Okay, here's the mixture here, right? Yes, colonialists stole this land from Native Americans, 100%. And there's a way to honor that injustice and disavow colonialism wherever it happens. Anywhere there's colonialism and genocide, right? It's happening right now. It's happening right now in Gaza. And you can go, hey, that fucking sucks. What the shit does that have to do with vaccines? I'm sorry, ancestral knowledge, they didn't know shit. Native Americans did not know what viruses are. They did not know what bacteria are. They didn't know how the human body works. They had no fucking clue what the immune system is. Okay? They didn't know shit. That didn't make them worse people. That didn't make it justifiable to eradicate them. Of course not. Absolutely not. But they just have nothing to do with each other. You have misplaced rage about colonialism and just the foreign policy of just the imperial colonialism. Bad. Vaccines are good. So decouple those, dude. I don't know, man.
We're not even honoring these things, and we're just supposed to trust science. No, I trust my scientists. I trust Dr. Sebi. I trust Dr. Aris Atham. I trust Dr. Yaki.
All right, the first one I think I recognize. That's some douchebag pseudoscience peddling fraud. So this is a problem. Like, there are black woo peddlers that prey on people who have this kind of brand of, like, I assume he's got like some African nationalism going on, where it's like, once again, white people, slavery, horrible shit. All this shit is horrible. It doesn't change it doesn't change how science. It doesn't change how the human body works. It doesn't change the laws of physics. right? So rage against racism and colonialism and genocide, but get a fucking education, man. Like, learn anything about science, because you don't know anything about science. Nothing. I'm sorry.
Because this system is not for us. It's not built for people like me. It's not built for any of us. Because even the opioid crisis, we saw a lot of Caucasians suffering from that. So how can you sit here and say that this vaccine is killing people when this system is currently killing people? When we even have to have an administration that comes in now and says, ooh, we got to start looking at all of these different toxins in the food, in the medicine, in the soil. I don't think it's fair for us to take this vaccine when we're already being forced to take polluted food.
What polluted food? What the shit are you talking about? Where is the pollution in the food, and who's forcing you to take anything? You can grow all your own fucking food if you want. Who's got you at gunpoint telling you eat Cheetos or whatever the shit you think you're talking about? The system is not built for you. Do you have an immune system? If you have an immune system, then vaccines are for you, and all humans do. And then you contradict yourself with the opioid crisis. Yeah, so clearly it's not targeting black people, right? All kinds of people, like, yeah, opioids are highly addictive. I mean, they have incredible practical application. Painkillers are good, right? Anyone who's gone through really invasive surgeries and things like that, we need painkillers. Does Big Pharma give a shit that people got addicted to it? No, not really. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have opioids, right? We should have a better safety net, a better system in America for preventing opioid addiction and then treating and rehabilitating people who get it. But that's an indictment on the system, not on science or medicine. So again, misplaced rage here.
When you say take this vaccine, which vaccine are you talking about?
Well, really all of them. It should be a choice, because even when I was younger, I didn't take as many vaccines as the children have to take now.
It is a fucking choice. It is a choice. There were compulsory vaccines in the past, particularly smallpox. There were countries that made it mandatory for every single citizen to get it, and now we don't have smallpox anymore. Should we be restraining people and forcibly injecting them with COVID vaccines? No, I don't think so. So it's a fucking choice. And by the way, this guy doesn't look old. He looks younger than me. And so I'm sorry, the vaccine schedule has not expanded tremendously in the past couple decades. There's a couple more, I think, but it's pretty much how it was. Sorry.
These children are sicker, they're going through more metabolic issues, they're having mental health issues, and now I don't think it's just the vaccine, it's the system that's perpetuating this type of lifestyle. Yes, that child who was even in the hospital under those fluorescent lights, I'm not surprised that they had a seizure before, because this is an environment that is not conducive to life. This thing that I'm wearing on my chest is called an ankh. Y'all replace this. Y'all replaced our cultures. This life representing thing, you replace it with death culture. This is not a healthcare system. It's a sick care system.
Yeah, you have a magic amulet. You have a magic amulet that keeps you safe. And the big bad system replaced your magic amulet with real medicine that fucking works. It's just...
And honestly, I cannot sit here in good faith and not represent all of the people who have come before me.
Yeah, absolutely. I respect that. I came to the United States as an immigrant living on welfare. So I got put into this same system that you're describing. It's a shitty system. The world is changing in ways that make our lives more unhealthy. We're eating more processed food. We're exposed to more chemicals, usually as a result of products that we actually enjoy. So when I complimented you on that great jacket, when someone wears a specific pretty strap on their Apple Watch, there's chemicals in there. There's forever chemicals in there. So for every amazing thing that we have in society, there's...
I like how he turned on him. He's like, hey, if you don't like chemicals, look at your fucking shirt. That was kind of a nice little zing right there. Although I don't like, more chemicals. Like, everything is chemicals. So I really like that kind of thing here, but he's trying to get under the radar. I appreciate that.
There's been drawbacks. The good part about our society is that we're constantly monitoring those drawbacks and are trying to create solutions for our own problems. So when I think about our current healthcare system, where I think it needs to do better is it needs to focus more on prevention rather than cures. Agree or disagree?
1,000%, yes, sir.
Do you know how we can do that?
Not through the vaccines, but one way we can.
Yes, through the vaccines. That's literally what fucking vaccines are, is they prevent you from being infected by a virus by priming your immune system to give it antibodies to fight the virus if it comes into contact with it. You don't know what vaccines are.
Could do that is connecting more to nature. One way we could do that is making sure that we're not poisoning the food. One way we could do that is treating each other better with more respect and actually getting rid of these systems that are putting us against us, this divide and conquer, the media manipulation and all of this fear tactics that
If we respect each other and get along, we'll become immune to viruses. We'll be immune to pathogens if we just smile at each other. That's not naive at all. Yeah, and if we get back to nature, which is where viruses come from, if we spend more time rolling around in the dirt where all the pathogens are, we won't get infected by pathogens. Like, the fucking naivete. Like, what is the disconnect here? Like, I wish, like, the drawback of vaccines being so incredibly successful is that young people today have no fucking idea what life used to be like. How it used to be the case prior to antibiotics, if you got a gigantic open wound, you're probably gonna die, right? That is for sure gonna get infected all over there, and you're either gonna amputate that limb or you're gonna die. That's what life used to be like in the Civil War. Do you know how many people had to get their fucking legs chopped off or their arms chopped off, had to get them amputated just because they had an open wound from a sword or a gunshot or something? It got infected and you lose it because we didn't know what bacteria are and we didn't know how to fight it. Right? Look at like the Black Death. Look at the plague. Like even 1918 Spanish flu. Like 1918, and it's that's a misnomer. It's we shouldn't call it that. But the 1918 influenza epidemic was way worse than COVID in terms of the severity of it and the transmissibility and the death toll. It was more people died, even though the global population was lower at the time. So. They just have no it boils my blood. The lack of appreciation for the most incredible scientific breakthroughs in human history, the most useful tools we have ever created. And then you got jerks like this going, nah, I'll take my fucking pertussis and diphtheria and polio and smallpox. God damn it, man.
that was pushed during this vaccine COVID mumbo jumbo. Yeah. This was totally.
Do you think we should do all of it?
Okay, sorry, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please
Thank you.
return to your
Appreciate
seat.
that. Thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
Doctor.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
How are you? Pleasure to meet you. So I'll let you know I'm Tom. I'm a police lieutenant from northern New Jersey.
Okay.
And what struck
Local.
me about your statement about body autonomy and children and the COVID vaccination. What would you say if I told you I had 3 daughters and my spouse and I had differing opinions on whether our children should be vaccinated with the COVID vaccine? And a judge orders that that vaccine be injected into my daughters. I'll give you a little bit of data first.
Okay.
I would say I think you're lying. That's what I would say, because nobody did that. A court of law is not permitted to order that someone get the vaccine. I mean, look, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, fine. This is a reaction video. I'm not going to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that that's not what happened. Now, look, to be as charitable as possible, I think that the urgency of children getting the COVID vaccine might be a little lower than what's on the vaccine schedule, like things that traditionally children are very vulnerable towards. Like, definitely you got to get the MMR. You got to get all these, pertussis, diphtheria. Like, these are ones that kill children a lot. So they have to get them. COVID, they were less susceptible. But it was a global pandemic. So, and I mean, but I do remember they were available for children later, because I don't remember why, if it was a slightly differing product or if they did more testing. But like it was very rigorously tested, right? Very rigorously. I know that yes, it happened rapidly because the phases of the clinical trials were allowed to overlap, right? Normally there's red tape and you have to finish each phase before you go to the next one, and so they were allowed to overlap because of the emergency nature. And there was a period of a few months, up to maybe 6 months, where my wife and I had been vaccinated, and then later, our second son wasn't born yet, but the first one was able to get it after, later. And so I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's lying. But also, I don't know, as far as the COVID vaccines in kids, ideally most of them get it, but I don't know.
And this was part of my reasoning with the courts. Risk versus benefit, correct? From 2018 to 2023, if we trust the CDC, their numbers say the most deadly thing for our children, the number one deadly thing, do you happen to know what it is?
Guns.
Accidents. Not necessarily guns, but accidents. Do you know what the number two? And I'm going from children from 10 to 14.
Because accidents, so second was suicide, ninth. Yeah, accidents, that's a little vague. That could mean a lot of things. So basically just kids are careless and bad shit happens to them. But sure, yeah, I mean, it's true that comparatively far fewer children died of COVID. I mean, but here's the thing, that's not the whole story, right? There's civic responsibility. Like, children infected other children at school who then infected old people and they died. So look, it's not just about kids dying. And some kids, obviously an alarming number of kids died of COVID compared to other things. Like none of those kids should have died. And the more people that didn't vaccinate, the more people of all ages died. So kids less and old people the most. But, I don't know where this, just with conservatives and anti-vaxxers, this complete lack of any semblance of civic responsibility, it's just really sad. It's just sad to me.
During the height of the pandemic.
Well, a little bit before the pandemic as well.
A little bit before, so the numbers are a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. The number two cause, suicide. Do you know where COVID is on that range of dangers?
Very low.
Very low. That population is about 21 million children in the United States. Between 2018 and 2023, there were about 4,000 to 7,000 accidents, about 1,000 suicides. Do you know how many deaths there were from COVID?
No, not offhand.
69. In New Jersey, where I'm from, the height of the pandemic, do you know how many deaths there were? 0. Now, are you familiar with the VAERS database?
Yes.
So that's for adverse reactions to vaccinations.
Yes.
During that time frame, this is about 6 months out of that period of time, from December of 2020 to July of 2021. The VAERS database, which is the only database we have, there were 14,000 post-COVID vaccination deaths. So how, if you're looking at risk towards benefit, is injecting a child, upholding what we call the Hippocratic Oath, right? We talk about the Hippocratic Oath and we extrapolate from that. One of the first things, it's not said in the Hippocratic Oath, but it's the first thing is to do no harm. Now, as a police officer, I took oath as well. Protect, serve, preserve life and property. In my line of work, there are times when I had to take a life to save one. I don't necessarily think that applies to you, doctor.
It does not.
Maybe you can give your viewpoint, whether maybe you're for or against, a court ordering the children to be injected with something that there is no harm to. But now we're seeing actual harm with the vaccine. They didn't die from the disease. They're dying from the vaccine.
Yeah, they're not, though. So VAERS is bullshit, and it's just astounding to me that anti-vaxxers haven't gotten the memo yet. That it is absolutely overrun with deliberate false claims and also just mistaken false claims. None of them are verified by any doctor or anybody who actually knows what they're talking about. So no, that enormous number of people did not die from the vaccine. Again, I'm going to call bullshit, and I do not think that the court ordered that, because that's insane, because that they don't have the power to do that, and tons of children did not get vaccinated. The parents decided whether their kids got vaccinated or not. And and just because it sounds like he was going through a divorce or something, and something about custody, and I just don't think that happened. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so your point is very logical, and you're very well researched, and I applaud that, because most people will go off their feelings as opposed to looking at the data as you did. So I appreciate that. When you point out that there's been 69 deaths, you said?
Correct. Between
from the
that
CDC
time,
data.
If we trust it.
If we trust it. And then there was 13,000, 14,000 deaths?
14,000 according to the VAERS database.
Are you familiar with how the VAERS database works?
I am.
Do you know who can report to the VAERS database?
It's a voluntary report system,
By
so
who?
it's open.
By
It's
who?
open, either to patients, medical providers,
Loved
anyone.
ones, anyone. During a heated political time, during which people are very angry and are reporting things that do happen during a pandemic, isn't it possible that there's people reporting things that after we look at it and judge it off of the VAERS system, that it is in fact not shown to be causative, but in fact a coincidence or a correlation?
So yes, I would say that correlation doesn't equal causation, but I'll give you another data point to chew on.
No, don't give another data point. Listen to what he just said. The translation is VAERS database data is bullshit, right? I love that, just like, CDC, if we trust the CDC, but I trust every random asshole who makes up some bullshit and puts it on the VAERS database. Like, there's no, like, if you're gonna be a skeptic, be a skeptic. If you're gonna be this extreme skeptic that doesn't trust anything, then do that. At least be consistent and go, VAERS database. Let's look at these reports. Got a vaccine, and then 6 weeks later, died from getting shot in the head. Oh, it was the vaccine, right? There's the overwhelming majority of those reports are complete bullshit. So be consistent with your skepticism. That's it, okay?
When I was a law enforcement officer, I saw people that were dying, and then when they were assessing the cause of death, they had a range of other morbidities. And just because they died with COVID, they didn't die from COVID. But getting back to the children, none of them did.
I think the reason why 0 children died is because we immunized so many, A. B, the fact that the court ordered you to do it, it's not really my place to judge, because you have 2 parents that have 2 decision-making capacities, and someone has to make a decision. I don't know what's right. I leave that to people who are smarter than me.
Yeah, it sounds like just custody was awarded to his ex-wife, and his ex-wife decided to vaccinate the kids. That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah.
I can talk about the science of it all. And when we look at the science, yes, COVID is a low-risk proposition for children, but it's not a 0 risk. When we look at the COVID vaccine, especially at the peak of that pandemic, when we were seeing hospitals overflooded, when we were losing people left and right, that was our sole way out of that pandemic. So the fact that 0 children died with the vaccination rate that we had, I suspect that the vaccine played a major role in making that happen.
All right, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
I'd love to go with that one.
My next claim is that vaccine-acquired immunity is better than natural immunity. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Knight.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. I want to say first that I'm a mother of 6 children. My oldest 2 children do have vaccines. My 3rd child, he got a vaccine that the doctor said were safe that caused him brain issues for the rest of his life, and he has arrested hydrocephalus. I want to continue to say my youngest 3 children have no vaccines at all. They're perfectly fine. They're advanced. My son has permanent brain injury. So they say vaccine immunity is better, but as a child, when I got vaccines, I ended up with spinal meningitis. I had chicken pox twice. I almost died. But my 3 children that don't have any vaccines are perfectly fine. They've been traveled over 20 states during COVID. They've never got COVID. They've never got sick. Just a healthy diet, keeping them away from toxic foods, making sure their hygiene is good. Did you know that COVID has a patent and natural illnesses can't have patents? Did you know that every illness dated back to polio has a patent? The only thing that doesn't have a patent is the common cold. Did you know that
Wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Diseases don't have patents. That's not something that humans invented. What is this? Viral post-COVID? I mean, they don't even have to be proven false. It's a fucking insanely idiotic thing to say. You patent things that you invent. We didn't invent diseases. Yeah, okay. Staying away from toxic foods. Like, what are you, like, you don't know what any of that means. Lady, I hate to break it to you, and I'm going to refrain from commenting on your claims about the conditions or anything, but you said, I got chicken pox, and, like, yeah, you got chicken pox. That's a thing that used to happen. I got chicken pox when I was 6. Has nothing to do with vaccines. But the reason that your 3 kids haven't come down with a million things is because everybody else is vaccinating their fucking kids. Okay? There's herd immunity for a lot of this shit, which is now being eroded. That's why we're seeing kids getting measles again, because people aren't giving them the MMR vaccine, which has been proven to be incredibly safe and effective. That's why, right? Before vaccines existed, the child mortality rate was 50%. You got 6 kids. How'd you like to have 3? That's the world before vaccines. That's what your reality would be if nobody ever took vaccines. So chew on that.
Fauci funded medical schools to try to make the vaccine more, or not the vaccine, make COVID more deadly. Vaccine immunity is not really a thing because they cannot guarantee it makes anybody immune. There's more side effects from getting a vaccine than to not get a vaccine.
No, a side effect from not getting the vaccine is getting the fucking disease that the vaccine renders you immune from. No such thing as vaccine-induced immunity. That's the fucking point of the vaccine, to make you immune from the thing it is immunizing you against. Like, you're basically just saying, vaccines don't exist. What are you talking about?
The chances of getting illness not vaccinated versus to getting vaccines is a lot higher than somebody that doesn't eat toxic crap, practices good hygiene. They're more likely to get illness vaccinated versus not vaccinated. There's studies that
You're insane. You're an insane person. Hygiene, you think brushing your teeth more often it renders you immune to viruses? What the fuck are you talking about?
show unvaccinated children are more healthier. In Japan, they don't start their vaccine schedule, I believe, until 2 years old. Autism is almost non-existent. And this is something that needs to be documented. Dated back to Poland.
Let's look at this fact check here. See, this is great. I don't have to do it. More than 3% of Japanese children are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, compared with 2.8 in the United States. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about. You are the quintessential anti-vaxxer. You heard some shit on Joe Rogan, or whatever the fuck podcast you listen to, went, oh, that must be true because I heard it on the internet. And now here you are just regurgitating all the bullshit you've been fed in a smug, superior tone, going, I know better than smart people who actually know things. It's fucking revolting. It's fucking nauseating. This just smug superiority of the willfully ignorant people who just take a shit on the triumphs of medical science that have saved billions of lives. Go live in the woods, man. I don't know. Just like you're making it worse for everyone else.
Polio, everything has a patent except for the common cold. Mad cow disease, Spanish flu, COVID, everything has a patent. So that leads me to believe Big Pharma has been ruining our people for generations since the Great Depression, since, like he said, Rockefeller agreed to fund medical schools and the education system around 1920s. Since then, illnesses have increased and increased and increased and increased and increased.
No, they haven't. Like all the shit that vaccines have eradicated. And for fuck's sake, will you stop with the Rockefeller shit? You sound like a fucking flat earther. Rockefeller, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, all of science is wrong. Holy shit, man.
And all we ever needed was to take care of ourselves and have good hygiene.
Something I think our healthcare system doesn't do enough is say, I don't know. And I have no idea about Dr. Fauci's patents. I don't know about patents on viruses. I'm a family medicine physician. That means I work in a clinic.
Mike, I'm not gonna she just rattled off a wave of insane bullshit, and instead of discrediting, and you can do it the nice way, not the way I do it, you can do it the nice way, you need to tell her that everything she just said is wrong and dumb. There's no such thing as a patent, not I don't know about patents on viruses. You need to say that's wrong, right? I would say that's fucking insane and you're an idiot for saying that. You can say, well, that's actually not quite right. Like you heard that, like do it the nice way. You're the nice guy. I'm the not nice guy. But I really want you to just say that she's wrong. At least one thing that she just said. That was like the most infuriating rant that's happened so far.
Where people come in with either an acute complaint, something's going on with them, or they're coming in for a preventive physical where we can get ahead of things and make them healthier by preventing illness. In fact, if you think about where pharma's profits are, if pharma had to choose between preventing an illness or to treat an illness for the rest of someone's life, financially speaking, they'd probably want to just treat someone for the rest of their life.
Exactly.
But that's not what vaccines are. Vaccines prevent that illness. They prevent it from happening. And when you brought up the subject of autism, I think it's an important subject, and it's a subject that's been largely debunked by the entire world community.
Not at all.
Yes, at all. Yes, 1,000 fucking times. Just, it's been debunked to hell, and you assholes won't accept it. You just will go to your graves going, vaccines cause autism. It's astounding.
I've seen studies that say otherwise, doctor. So I don't know if you're going off Rockefeller's medicine or are you going off of holistic medicine as well. As a scientific mind, you're supposed to observe everybody's hypothesis, not just Rockefeller's medical schools. And
scientific, you're not being scientific enough. You're going off Rockefeller. Like, oh, I've seen stuff. You've never read any primary scientific literature in your life. You couldn't pass a 6th grade science quiz. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about, yet all of science is wrong because you say so. Like, this is just in a nutshell, like, people like you are ruining the world. Not like there are people, it's not you that's ruining the world, but the people who are ruining the world are taking advantage of people like you who fall for this shit and let them do it because you refuse to take the responsibility to learn anything. It's infuriating.
And that's why I feel like you've got most of your knowledge from, and maybe you should branch out into holistic medicine because vaccines have never been the answer. They were created to separate us from spirituality and consciousness. If you look at the ingredients, there's nothing healthy in vaccines. Formaldehyde, all types of stuff. So none of that prevents. Everybody's got vaccines.
There's no formaldehyde in vaccines. You have no idea what is in any vaccine, not a single one. You don't know what they are. You don't know what they do. You don't know how they work. And you're sitting here and shitting on the most incredible innovation in human history. You are a horrible person. I hate you.
Still get illnesses. I've never seen any prevention of anything.
Do you have smallpox? Do you have smallpox? Do you have polio? Do you have pertussis? Do you have any of the fucking things that vaccines eradicate? Oh, you don't? Oh, you don't have smallpox? You don't have those things? Then I guess vaccines fucking work. You moron.
Prevention from vaccines comes from prevention of death and serious illness. And we've seen that when you study that, not just in the US by the Rockefeller system that you describe, one of the largest studies in the world surrounding vaccines and autism in children.
Mike, don't placate her Rockefeller shit. It's not the Rockefeller system she describes. It's just some dumb conspiracy theory bullshit she said. Just please, you can do the under the radar thing and you can be the nice guy, but don't like reinforce the idiotic shit that they say, dude. Come on, man.
Came from Denmark with over 500,000 children. That is not a U.S. system. That is not a capitalist system. And they found that there is no pattern.
That's not
so
true.
I'm trying to branch.
That's not true. Yes, it fucking is. It's one of the studies that me and Dan referenced in the Kirsch and Corey debate. That's not true. Things that prove me wrong don't exist because I say so. It's fucking pathetic, man.
Out as much as possible.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Okay.
Please
Thank you
return
so
to your
much.
seat.
Hey, Dr. Mike.
Hello, how are you?
So I want to take a minute and put the ball back on your court because you mentioned herd immunity earlier, correct? Well, COVID was COVID one of the most contagious viruses we've had, pretty much?
I don't know, historically speaking, but it was definitely incredibly contagious.
Okay.
In fact, because it wasn't so deadly, was the reason why it was such a problem.
You want herd immunity. How would we achieve herd immunity if a virus is so contagious that wouldn't it spread across the population before we get it all vaccinated?
Not every vaccine can create herd immunity, but it can create herd protection. There's two different types of viruses that exist, and there's long incubation diseases and there's short incubation diseases. The simplest way I could explain it is how quickly you get sick after you're exposed to this infection. That's short incubation. So if it's fast, it's short incubation. If it's long incubation. Now, when you look at a disease like smallpox, for example, that's a long incubation illness. It means it gives your immune system a chance to create a response to it. So if you've been vaccinated, even if you've been vaccinated a long time ago, your body has the time to create protection even after it's been exposed. For short incubation illnesses like the common cold, influenza, COVID-19, it's very difficult to create complete protection. Because even though you've gotten some protection from getting the vaccine in a short period of time, that immunity wanes, and the long-term protection you get is only valuable against serious illness like death, hospitalization, etc. Okay. So you can't get perfect herd immunity for short incubation diseases.
Okay, thank you. So I guess my follow-up question is that there were certain groups of people who were exempt from getting the COVID vaccine, like if you were under a certain age or over a certain age, or if you had immunocompromised problems or whatever. So if those people can't get the vaccine, and those are the people who are most vulnerable, and a lot of people in this room believe, well, a lot of people's natural immunity is good enough to fight the disease, then like, why would we get the vaccine when the people that, you know, if they can't get it, then they could die anyways, you know?
Yeah, so the point of that is by getting the vaccine as a healthy person, I believe that's better than having natural immunity. And that doesn't mean that by getting the vaccine you have a better response or a stronger response. In fact, many times actually getting the disease will give you a better response. But do you know what you have to do in order to get that response?
Like get the virus in you?
Correct, which means you have to have all the potential risks of having severe disease, death, and largely we've forgotten how serious these viruses and bacteria are, where in the 20s, in the 50s, in the 80s, the deadliness of those diseases has been largely forgotten. One of the vaccines.
Thank you. Yes, exactly what I was saying. Well, also, you're not just risking yourself and the effects of that virus, you're also infecting other people. So natural immunity is good, sure. I mean, and there are instances in which, you know, if you take an attenuated virus and it has a very particular envelope protein, and then that's what the body is using to produce antibodies in response to that particular antigen. If you are infected by a live virus with that exact envelope protein, then, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my mind, the immunity is identical, right? It's a response to the exact same antigen. The problem is that there are viruses that, and I've said this before, I don't know exactly the biological reason why certain viruses mutate more rapidly than others. But the coronaviruses, in particular, this one was mutating very rapidly. So you're only immune from that particular antigen. If that antigen changes sufficiently that the antibodies produced in response to the original antigen don't recognize the new antigen, then you're not protected from that. It's a different envelope protein that will allow that virus to enter the cell that your antibodies won't recognize and won't tag for destruction by macrophages and stuff. So, natural immunity is good. At times as good as vaccine immunity, and Mike would know more than me. Maybe those are slightly unequal in certain circumstances. But the point is that you have to get infected by the fucking virus, and while you are infected, you can potentially infect other people, especially if you don't social distance and things like that. And you know that anti-vaxxers didn't give a fuck about any of that, and we're going to parties and all this shit and coughing all over each other and fucking each other and getting everybody transmitting the virus. So yeah.
One of the vaccines we give to children is called Haemophilus influenza. That causes meningitis. We don't see that anymore. The residents that were trained 20 years before me, every time they were in the emergency room, they learned how to do a spinal tap to diagnose this type of meningitis because of that bacteria. I've never learned how to do it. I'm not trained how to do it. Now we have to rely on interventional radiologists to do the procedure because of vaccines. So the reason why I say that vaccine immunity is better than natural immunity is because you don't have to survive the actual illness.
Okay. Well, that was my question.
Thank you.
They could get another guy.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Mike. Eliezer.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as
I
well.
was actually binge watching your videos this week, thinking it was going to be you. I didn't think it was going to be you. But, you are very good faith, which I respect. Can I ask you a question in terms, because as a vaccine skeptic, the burden of proof is on you to show that vaccines do work. So what evidence would you have that vaccines actually work?
All of the clinical trials for I mean, that they're safe. That's the clinical trials. What evidence do you have that they work? That people don't get the fucking diseases anymore. Did you hear what the guy just said? I mean, like, okay, I'm not going to repeat myself over and over and over again, but there's all these diseases that we don't get anymore because of vaccines. Like, use your brain, dude.
So vaccines, unlike other drugs, and there have been claims made about this in the wrong direction, where people say that vaccines aren't as tested as, let's say, pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. Because vaccines are given to healthy people to prevent disease, we test them an incredibly higher amount than pharmaceuticals. So that means pre-market testing before we bring them out. That means while we give them and after. We actually have a system called the Vaccine Safety Data Net that monitors millions of doses of the vaccines to see if a pattern gets elucidated through giving the vaccine. So we have all stages of the vaccine process monitored because we are trying to do our best to make sure that we help children and adults when they are due for a vaccine.
Okay, so you just, at the end, you said it pretty much sounds like you have to have a good intention. For example, we're not in the labs actually seeing the vaccine process or the clinical trials, so we have to just take the experts' word and trust it, right?
Well, when you fly in a plane, you're not in the cockpit.
Right. So we put our faith in that. So you would say that we just have to put our faith in the experts, correct?
Yeah, or, I mean, you can start by learning literally any science. I mean, that was a great response from Mike, both of those things, right? He explained how all of this shit is thoroughly tested, thoroughly monitored, decades after the fact, right? We're constantly monitoring everyone that gets every vaccine. And we catch anything that happens. And by the way, in the rare cases where like AstraZeneca and J&J for the COVID vaccines, which by the way were not mRNA vaccines, they were vector-based, so they were not the gene therapy, whatever the fuck. It's absolutely true. There were a very small handful of extreme blood clots. A couple people died from, I believe, AstraZeneca. They pulled it off the market immediately. Okay, that's how responsive this system is. It's very tragic what happened. And if somebody says, oh, 2 people died from AstraZeneca, so that makes me trust vaccines less. That's reasonable. That's a thing an anti-vaxxer could say that I would be like, well, I can't argue with that because it is true that that did happen. It's an infinitesimal probability, but it is non-zero. And so that is an okay thing for you to say. But then I like what he said again, where it's like, look, oh my gosh, like, oh, are you really going to trust those scientists? You're trusting people every fucking day. People who prepare and package your food, people who fly your planes, do all this shit. We're going around every day putting our lives in the hands of so many people and trusting so many people. So why is it people who make vaccines that is going to raise the alarm for you, right? Why is that? What is going on in your brain that's the thing you choose and go, scientists who make vaccines are stupid jerks that want to kill everybody? Like, where is that coming from? I don't get it.
Correct.
Okay, so this would require, number one, a good intention. So they have a good intention to help people, to make their lives better, and also they have to be ethical. Is that correct?
Those are reasonable things, yeah.
Okay, so if they fall outside of the purview of those two criteria, would you say it is reasonable for us to be skeptical?
I think it's reasonable to be skeptical at any moment.
But taking those two things, if they violate either of those two, would it give someone else more justification to be against it?
Sure.
Okay, so when we look at the biggest developers and distributors and sellers of the vaccines, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, all these big pharmaceutical companies, when we look at their track record, we see they have been deceptive. They've had big settlements, billions and billions of dollars, fraud, misleading the public, concealing clinical trials that were against their favor from the public. So when we have to put our whole faith and trust in these people that have been through huge billions of dollars of settlements, and they have proven that they have been unethical, they have made more profit through the COVID times than ever before as well, why should we trust them so lightly, taking into consideration the fact that we're not in the labs with them, taking the fact that they are profiting from our well-being? Why should we trust them so lightly?
It's not a blind trust. Who you're trusting is the independent reviewers that review the data that they put forward.
Okay, but is this political or is this science?
It's science, man. Like, it's a good point here, right? Like, people don't know how this process works at all. And they think that big pharma, which is like one evil guy in a room somewhere and his little underlings, like a mad scientist and his little yellow minion guys, are like, ha ha ha, I made a poison vaccine and I'm going to write this thing that says it's safe, even though it isn't. And those idiots will take it and they'll all die. That's not how it fucking works. Right? And that's the real tragedy with fucking RFK and how the FDA has been completely captured now. And people will not trust FDA and CDC when they were reliable, when they were safeguards, when they were looking out for the American public. And now they'll trust RFK, who is rendering those institutions unreliable. They're no longer reliable because he's replacing all of the legitimate scientists. He's firing all of them, thousands of layoffs, and replacing them with douchebag frauds that will bend over for the fucking state-sanctioned pseudoscientific narrative. So now they are unreliable, and yet I guarantee you all of these jerks are RFK fans. Like, the complete reversal of reality and the selective skepticism is just off the charts. It's mind-boggling.
Health is as much public health as it is individual health.
Okay, but would you say guys like Dr. Peter McCullough or Dr. Rich, would you say that they are probably not good experts that we should adhere to?
No, you should not listen to Peter McCullough. He's a piece of shit fraud. And people who watch my vaccine debate with Kirsch and Corey will know the anecdote that Peter McCullough was hawking some piece of shit nattokinase, untested, unregulated spike protein detox supplement. Steve Kirsch took it, went blind in one eye. He's permanently blind in one eye because of this dog shit supplement that McCullough is profiting off of and that he promotes, that Kirsch promotes. Lost vision in an eye, doesn't even talk about it. Continues to rage against vaccines, which save millions of lives, but doesn't breathe a word about the untested, unregulated supplement that made him blind in one eye permanently. Like, this is like, you're gonna trust these piece of shit snake oil salesmen because they went on Joe Rogan and told you a story that you like, but you won't trust thousands upon thousands of scientists working in the public sector, in the private sector, in dozens of countries around the world. No, let's not trust them, right? All of them are bad. But the snake oil salesman that I saw on Joe Rogan is a brave, whistleblowing truth teller that can do no wrong, right? Unreal.
I don't know who those people are.
So they're very anti-vax, or they've provided solutions like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin.
Those are not solutions. They do jack shit against COVID. I can tell exactly where you're getting your information from, and you need a better bullshit detector, my friend. You seem like a decent guy. His approach, the reasoning was actually not better than the other people there. It's okay to go, okay, pharma has done bad stuff. How can I trust them? But look at who you're trusting instead. Piece of shit snake oil salesman frauds on podcasts that sell you supplements that make millions of dollars selling bullshit snake oil that won't do anything for you. That's who you're choosing to trust over the entire global scientific community. Reflect on that.
And they've stated over 200 peer-reviewed studies from different types of trials showing the efficacy of those kind of medications that are...
No, zero, in fact. They told you that those studies exist, and you believed them because you implicitly trust piece of shit grifting frauds instead of real scientists.
Alternatives to COVID or the vaccination. But what I'm kind of getting to is that we're supposed to trust this specific agenda. So Pfizer, WHO, which once again, if we look at the track record, they haven't had a great track record. So it sounds like to me it's more of a political thing instead of a science thing. When you guys say trust the science and trust the experts, you actually mean this group of experts. Because whenever big experts like RFK, even if you want to say he's not a doctor, he's not licensed, but his friends, Peter McCullough, Dr. Rich, they are great experts. They've had some of the most reviewed studies in the medical field.
I'm not going to repeat myself. RFK's a piece of shit fraud. His buddies are pieces of shit frauds. You fell for it.
I don't see why we have to deny their science and their expertise and go with this set of people.
I think when you look at the grand scheme of things, you have to look at consensus. And when you look at consensus, not just the United States, you look at the WHO. This is a world organization. This is not a United States organization. In fact, we just pulled out of the WHO
right.
funding-wise. So this is the most unbiased you can get. Can you erase human bias from research? Absolutely not, because it's done by us, and humans are inherently biased. When you talk about Pfizer's past mistakes or whichever organization you want to choose from the pharma side of things, to be skeptical of them is so important, and the way that they've been lacking transparency for a long time, especially when it comes to pricing and the way that they've chosen their development of medications, I'm the first person to admit that that is valuable. But when we say Pfizer, where we say Purdue or one of these pharmaceuticals, there are people that are working there that are researchers that you're talking about. The shareholders, the people that are investing in those companies, are a different set of people. So when we get data from Pfizer and is brought to the advisory committee in the CDC or the FDA, these are independent bodies that are trying to verify through a peer review process if that is true. They're trying to do their best with the knowledge that we have. Will we have perfect answers? Will there be mess ups? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean you just throw everything out the way and say, hands up, we failed before, so we can't fail again.
I would agree that there's a difference between mistakes and deception. So deception is an intent. You're intending to have malice towards someone, right? You're intending to make more money by lying to the public. You're intending to make more money or more profit by not showing all the clinical studies that were conducted that show adverse reactions to the thing that you're putting forth.
So, yeah, God damn, I can't just keep saying the same thing over again. You specifically fall for grifting frauds who lie to you for money. That's what you do. You have convinced yourself of the opposite of that. I just don't know. Like, this guy, seems like so far the one who could potentially get snapped out of it. He just needs to be shown that the people that he trusts implicitly because of a narrative that he enjoys are disgusting piece of shit frauds. So fingers crossed on that.
So that's where I would also make a delineation that there's mistakes, which we can all make, and I would also say science can make mistakes, but then there's this other section, which is an intention.
How do you judge intention?
That's the thing is with these kind of companies, we have to assume good intention.
All right, sorry, you've been voted out by the majority.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Hello, pleasure.
Pleasure. So knowing that there are side effects that do come along with the COVID vaccine, which is irrefutable, it's a risk management, and in any circumstance, if there's a risk, there must be a choice at all times. Would you agree with that?
Well, there's always a choice.
Well, there wasn't a choice September 9th, 2021, when Biden instituted the OSHA mandate with all federal employees and every business over 100 employees. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's still a choice, man. You aren't. It's not a guaranteed right to have a particular job, and it is a right for a state and places of business to take action to guarantee, or not guarantee, but serve the best interests and the safety of their patrons and employees. Still a choice. You can choose to not get to have that job. Sorry.
I still think it was a choice.
So when you say it wasn't a choice for all the service members that were part of the military that refused the vaccine, they were dishonorably discharged, did they have a choice?
Yep. Yes, they did. They can choose to get the vaccine or not and suffer the consequences of not complying with a public health measure, right? You don't get to dictate how these institutions work, right? It is very reasonable for an institution to take steps, to take measures to ensure the safety of the participants, members, patrons, whatever it is. Okay? So if you don't like the decisions those institutions make, then you are free, you have the choice to not participate in that, to not have that job, to not be a part of that institution. That's a choice, my friend.
They had a choice.
And what was their choice?
I'm not saying whether or not this is a fair choice or if I support the choice, but it was a choice.
Okay.
Just like with children, in order to go to a public school where by choosing to not vaccinate your child, you're potentially putting other children at risk, you could choose not to put them in a public school and therefore not be mandated to get the vaccines.
Everyone has the ability to make a right choice for them and their family. And if you are able to fully understand with informed consent, there are many, many risk factors, especially knowing that there's no long-term studies, not one.
Sorry, time's up.
Thank you. My next claim is that RFK Jr. is a public health threat. Good to see you again, sir.
Yes, sir. So why do you think he is a threat?
I think when you're trying to put someone in a position of authority of a health agency, you want it to be a person who understands science and follows factual narratives.
So if RFK appeals to other experts that are anti-vax because they've seen sufficient evidence otherwise, would that be heretical as well?
They haven't seen sufficient evidence for the bullshit that they spew. That's the fucking point. It is an entire... Bobby Kennedy oversees CDC, FDA, NIH, and is kicking out all the legitimate scientists and replacing them with fucking frauds. If you don't have the scientific knowledge, if you don't have the foundational knowledge to know that they're fucking frauds, that's on you. So you can choose to get an education and learn about science until you have the ability to discern that they're piece of shit fucking frauds, or you don't, and you have to listen to people that actually know what they're talking about. But that you implicitly trust that these anti-vaxxer experts are not piece of shit frauds. I don't know what to tell you, right? You are implicitly trusting these people the way that you're whining about people implicitly trusting very large multinational organizations or the global scientific community. That's who should be trusted, if anyone. But ideally, you don't have to trust because you actually learn and know things, and then you have that knowledge base to be able to discern for yourself who's full of shit and who isn't. And there's a line there, right? If it gets to be really niche, really esoteric knowledge, you know, there's people that I have to trust because it's very, very, esoteric knowledge that I don't have. But the more you know, the better, right? I'm not a supreme expert in any of this stuff, and I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that RFK is a fucking fraud and a moron who has no idea what he's talking about and is constantly lying about everything. And same with every single person in his inner circle. So learn some shit and you'll be able to see that too, my friend.
I think that RFK's stances of why he's a public health threat go past the anti-vaccine stances. He's made public statements that HIV doesn't cause AIDS, that poppers, which is a party drug or a recreational drug that people use, is really the reason why AIDS exists. That is not someone who clearly understands science, and I don't want them in charge of a health agency.
Okay, assuming he does become head of the health department, wouldn't he now technically be considered the expert, not an expert, but the expert?
No.
So then, if he put something forth that...
Wait a minute. So this guy is like, if Trump is batshit, and we all, like, I guess this is before he was sworn in, maybe like just barely before, but the reasoning here is if Trump is insane enough to put this piece of shit fraud in charge of public health, by virtue of having that position, he's automatically an expert. Like, is that what this guy's saying? I really hope it's not.
Was anti-vax, and he said we have sufficient evidence to prove this, and then other medical experts such as you, which are pro-vax, went against it. Wouldn't now you be categorized as the wrong ones?
No, because it's not based on a single person's opinion. This is a consensus-driven statement.
It's like if Trump picked a flat earther to head NASA, and then the people the globe earthers, well, that would be the contrarian point of view, right? The official truth would be that the earth is flat because Trump is fucking insane and he chose a flat earther to be the head of NASA. That's the logic that you're using, my friend.
Driven by thousands of doctors, dozens of agencies, not just here in the United States, but worldwide as well.
Okay, do you allow your patients to write bad reviews about you if they had a bad experience?
It's not my choice to write it or not write it.
No, do you allow them? Or would you remove it?
No.
No what?
I would not remove it.
Okay, so if we look at Facebook, Google, YouTube, they suppressed so many anti-vax posts, legitimate declarations of they were injured, serious deaths. ABC News went on Facebook and they posted a simple question: who do you know or yourself that was seriously injured from the vaccine? Over 200,000 comments that were then removed by Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg just went on Joe Rogan and he said that Joe Biden, the Biden administration, forced them to censor people. So if someone really believes in their product, why would they do mass censorship to hide it?
Yeah, you know who else Zuckerberg censors? Pro-Palestine profiles and posts. He doesn't give a fuck. He'll censor whatever. He just did that for brownie points with anti-vaxxers because Facebook is their favorite place to go spread all of their disinformation. Look, I think it is a defensible position, maybe, to say that the government shouldn't interfere with, to say that posts shouldn't be taken down. Like, that's, you can have a debate about that. You can have but it is undeniable that what was taken down in this particular context was disinformation. Okay? There were anti-vaxxers spewing all kinds of provably false bullshit all over the internet that was causing extreme vaccine hesitancy, which killed people. So I think that the sentiment is valid, right? Wanting to curb disinformation to save lives is valid. Whether you put free speech or lack of censorship above human life, you can have that debate. You can totally have it. But you're trying to pretend that because things got taken down that they're true? No, that shit was false. It was lies that kill people, okay? So all these people that talk about the vaccine killed whoever, no, they fucking didn't. It's either people lying or idiots who decided that a vaccine killed someone when it totally didn't. Sorry.
I'm a family medicine doctor. I have no idea why they're censoring certain websites or not censoring certain websites. So, like, that's outside of my scope.
Well, that's outside of your scope, but just using logic, just using reasoning. You said you would not remove your patients' bad reviews, so why would we allow these experts to then remove those kind of critics?
Last that I checked, no doctor removes patient bad reviews. No doctor goes on and hides comments. I mean, maybe they do it on an individual level, but not on a systemic level.
Okay. I would just say that RFK Jr. does appeal to other experts that even if they're vaccine skeptics, they put forth legitimate studies that would be antithetical to the pro-vaccine studies. So you said earlier, like, misinformation. I would ask, who is the author of Misinformation?
Everyone that you follow, that you saw on Joe Rogan and fell for because they told you a story you enjoy.
Who is the author of Misinformation?
Yeah, so Misinformation, first off, is predicated on the fact that there's right information. Right information is going to be predicated on the fact that there's absolute truth. Does science state absolute truth?
There's no absolute truth, period.
Right.
In fact, there's a great book that I recommend everyone to check out. It's called The Half-Life of Facts, to see how what we consider now a fact, how quickly it could change. And in science, what I consider someone who would be a good fit and not a public health threat to lead the agency is someone who's aware that facts can expire, they can change, they can adapt, but they have sound logic as to why they make those decisions, and they don't make statements carelessly with bad information, knowingly bad information.
So if truth is provisional, this means that science, that right now you can be pro-vax, and next year when you see sufficient evidence, you can be anti-vax, correct?
You could.
Okay, perfect. So if there's no absolute truth within this realm, I don't know why we should completely rule out RFK Jr. and the other experts that he could appeal to.
Because I'm sorry, I have no new information for you. Just every time he says this, it pisses me off. RFK is a fucking fraud with no idea what he's talking about. The handful of frauds he surrounds himself with are frauds with no idea. Well, no, they do know what they're talking about. They're lying on purpose. I want to snap this guy out of this so badly.
The reason I rule him out is because he takes information that is not true, like that poppers cause AIDS.
Subjectively true.
It's not subjectively true.
For the time being, because you just said it's provisional truth, meaning...
So magically, that information is going to change? Like, I'm sorry, dude. No, it isn't. Like, some people just make up bullshit and pretend it's true. And you fall for it because you like it. Like, it is as simple as that, man. Just, you can get there. I know you can.
It can change with time.
Right, but you can create any sort of statement, and in healthcare, we can't just go off of any statement because someone feels subjectively to be true. We have to do our best to do with limited information that we can. That doesn't mean we have zero information, we should just believe anyone. In fact, have you seen these podcast hosts who have protocols by which they
like
sleep, eat, or Gary Brecka or otherwise? The reason why I don't subscribe to their protocols is because anyone can make a claim about anything, just like RFK does with these statements. Until someone backs up these claims with good substantial evidence, and there is a hierarchy of what good substantial evidence is, we won't believe those stats. The same way that if you sat across from me right now and told me you're the fastest human on earth at 100 meters, you might be telling the truth. Provisionally, subjectively, it might be true. The only way I'll know it's true is if we have an Olympic timekeeper with an Olympic device measured with the proper measuring tape. Then I can witness it, and then I can see it's true.
Okay, pause. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty good analogy, right? Put up or shut up, right? Fucking show me. And so, yeah, if you're some asshole that said I am the fastest person alive, most of us would go, no, you fucking aren't. I don't believe you because I know it's Usain Bolt or whatever, whoever, maybe if it's somebody else now. Yeah, just I don't see why people can't get this shit.
You've been voted out by the majority.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Hello again.
Hello again. I would like to start by saying that HIV does not cause AIDS.
Fuck you. I fucking hate you.
AIDS is actually brought on when your white cell count goes below 200. So to say that HIV caused AIDS is inaccurate information. It's actually when your blood cell count goes below 200.
Why does it go below like, what happened to the white blood cells? Were they infected by a virus that killed them? Oh my God, you are the worst. You're the worst.
I do agree some things he says is skeptical, such as climate change is real when we know that there's weather manipulation weapons and patents. However, majority of what he says about vaccines is true. When there's so many, have you heard of Dr. Teresa the military doctor Teresa Long?
No.
She said that spontaneous abortion went up 300% in the military after they mandated the vaccines. There's been several doctors that have came out and spoke of the adverse reactions. So how is it that vaccine skeptics are the villains when some of the top doctors, some of the doctors that help create PCR tests, some of the doctors that have worked on vaccines have came out and said they're unsafe and we should not give this to our family and friends.
Like who? Robert Malone, the piece of shit fraud? Whoever the fuck you saw on Joe Rogan that gave you a story that you enjoy? Like, how fucking batshit insane do you have to be? Like, you just, like, learn anything about AIDS. If HIV doesn't cause AIDS, then how is it that therapies that target the cycle by which HIV replicates in cells, right? We have all of these therapies that target and impair and inhibit various stages of HIV replication in cells, and that's why AIDS isn't a death sentence anymore. Do you wonder why in the 80s AIDS was a fucking death sentence and now it's not? Why could that be? Is it because we know how AIDS happens, that it's fucking HIV, and that we have therapies that address HIV and inhibit the replication of HIV, and that's why AIDS doesn't kill people anymore? Have you fucking thought of that? Oh my God, I can't do it.
How is it that he's a villain? How are we a villain if some of these vaccine creators and scientists are the ones saying we should not get it?
Is there anything I could say today that would change your mind?
I'm just asking your opinion.
I'm asking you a question.
Probably not, because I actually read and study.
No, you don't. You've never read or studied anything in your fucking life. You're probably a high school dropout. I'm sorry.
Well, if I can't change your mind,
I just want to know your opinion.
Yeah, so
No, you don't. No, you don't. You came here to spew your bullshit script from all the assholes you watch on whatever fucking podcast, Rumble, dumb shit that you watch that makes you feel smart and special because you have no knowledge of anything and you're just here regurgitating that. And I wish that Mike would fucking address and debunk any of the shit you said and shame you for, honestly, this is disgusting rhetoric. It's disgusting to be an AIDS denier, to be an HIV denier. You're a shitty person. You're a shitty garbage person that deserves to be mocked and ridiculed until you get your fucking life together. He's not going to do that. I like this thing that he's doing too. He's proving that you have zero interest in objectivity or facts or anything, that you've made up your mind, you have a narrative that you identify with that makes you feel special, and there is zero any kind of information that will ever make you change your mind because you suck. You're a horrible person.
I would like to give you my knowledge, my experience, and what I've seen in the hospital system. But if you're telling me right now, no matter what I say, you're not going to change your mind, is there any value to that?
Well, I like to study everybody's opinion. I don't like to just say, I believe this, and not further investigate everybody else's opinion.
That's exactly what you do. That is exactly what you do.
But when studies show the unvaccinated are actually healthier and the vaccinated are the ones that are getting COVID and dying and getting heart problems, and over 100-something athletes that got the vaccine got heart problems after being perfectly healthy, I think it's unsafe and actually more so villain-like to say it's so safe and call people that are anti-vaxxers skeptics when over 100 athletes that are perfectly healthy are injured.
Yeah, oh my God, an athlete that trains like a maniac, like a fucking Roman gladiator, 100 hours a week, constantly doing all this shit, pushing their body to the limit. A heart thing happened? Oh my God, it must be a vaccine. It can't have anything to do with their lifestyle whatsoever. How insane. And I did spot that fact check right there. And for anyone who didn't get the memo, the risk of myocarditis from COVID is 4 times higher. It's like 2.2 out of it was 11. It's something like 4 times higher from COVID than the vaccine. And it was tremendously milder, almost always rectifying itself without any medical intervention from the vaccine. So exceedingly rare, exceedingly mild from COVID vaccine, 4 times more likely from COVID itself, because it's caused from the fucking spike protein interacting with heart cells, with cardiac cells. Just the confident stupidity. It's this is America. This is America today. People like this, fucking millions of them. That's what it is.
Who knows how many in the military cannot have kids or have had a spontaneous abortion or everything because of this. So
what the fuck is a spontaneous abortion? Are you trying to say the word miscarriage? Is that what you're trying to say? And I don't believe that at all. Show me some data.
I feel like it's an unfair statement to say he's a villain or he's unsafe, but then continue to say you believe the vaccines are safe and effective when millions have died or suffered from adverse reactions. So I'm just trying to understand your perspective.
Millions have died? Where the fuck are these millions of people who died from COVID vaccines? Where the fuck are they? That would mean that every single person knew multiple people who died from COVID vaccines. Like, how can anyone believe this shit? You think that millions of people died from COVID vaccines. How fucking dumb do you have to be to believe that shit? I don't know.
Yeah, my perspective is, if you, like the American Medical Association put out that over 90% of doctors got vaccinated. There's no epidemic of doctors having negative outcomes, dying at alarming rates.
There's saline shots as well. There was a doctor in Australia that came forth and said that at least 10% of the vaccines that were going out were saline shots. And this has been proven by an Australian doctor that some of the shots that were going out were saline shots. So how are we to say that some of these doctors didn't know ahead of time of Agenda 21 and got a saline shot?
Isn't it ironic, right? The fact check here is that it's specifically talking about placebos given in clinical trials. So, number one, she doesn't understand what clinical trials are. Number two, she's trying to pass that off as people getting the vaccine. Number three, it also debunks this famous RFK goes on Joe Rogan. Is like, they've never done any placebo trial vaccine, whatever. Yes, they fucking have. So that was a triple debunk fact check right there. That's fun.
It's kind of impossible to say.
Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mike?
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Luna. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
There's so much trust invested in you and your research and how you look at things and how you look at data. So I imagine you have a mountain of stuff to look at. When you mentioned the RFK thing, right away what got in my head is like, I don't know nothing about him really, but I know he was a Democrat. If I'm not correct, if somebody...
He ran as for president as a Democrat.
Okay, so that's why that was a big thing when he transitioned to shaking Trump's hand, right? That was like a big political move.
Yeah, for sure. It made news.
Does that have a bias thing if you don't like Trump?
No. So what's interesting about this anti-vax movement is people are very quick to label it left, right, center. It's not. If you look back at the history of the anti-vaccine movement, it started initially on the left in Democratic circles. Okay. And then over the last few years with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's become more prevalent on the right, but it's not mutually exclusive. It happens all across the board. And I empathize with you as a new father, how difficult it is making this decision, hearing all these statements, because ultimately you have to decide what to do. Yeah. And if you choose to get the vaccine or you choose not to get the vaccine, both of those carry consequences.
Yes, I get what you're saying, but to call me a villain, even though I have been a villain before, I've been an incarcerated person, to put me now as a villain as I'm trying to be a protective father to the tribe that I'm entitled, that I have. So
Stop with the victimization, man. Nobody called you a villain since you've been in this room, right? Nobody is here attacking you. Like, you're the one presenting these narratives, and you and with the Democrat Republican thing, like, if you can't see that RFK is a fucking sellout who in quid pro quo fashion endorsed Trump to get a position, right? Trump was like, this jerk is gonna take some numbers from me if he's allowed to run. So stop running and I'll make you head of the fucking HHS. And he went, okay, because there's no fucking way I'm gonna win. So I'll back out, endorse this jerk, and become insanely powerful. Like, how can you not wrap your head around that?
This really bothers me.
Based off my statements, I would never call you a villain in this situation. I think you actually fall into the victim part of this situation.
Okay.
The villain of the situation is more with this claim about RFK Jr. when he knows things to not be true and he uses that for personal gain or otherwise to progress his career. I don't think that's what you were trying to do, so I don't think you're the villain in this situation at all.
This is website that I think he's part of. It's called childrenhealthdefense.org. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, it's his organization.
Have you watched anything from there or looked at anything?
Sure, I've seen clips.
Okay, did you watch the unvaxxed video?
No, not the unvaxxed video.
I highly suggest to watch it. I mean, my concern is you don't have the means to look at the data of the persons that are not vaccinated, and how would you know? Because they're not going to the doctor to check on you regardless.
What do you mean we don't, like, you think that we don't have data on this stuff, and you're substantiating this by referencing unvaxxed, fucking documentary, or no, not vaxxed, right? I think he's talking about the Del Bigtree bullshit, which RFK had a hand in. He's referencing CHD, the propaganda organization that RFK makes millions of dollars from. Like, just the level of skepticism towards the scientific community and the complete lack of skepticism towards these manipulative frauds who make millions of dollars off of anti-vaccine propaganda. How are you not seeing it? How are you not seeing it?
So how can you say that there's not a better option if someone says, I don't feel safe for that? All this stuff mounts up on my decision to be like, dang, am I a villain because someone from the outside is coming in to just go ahead and try to change all these things? I mean,
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to cut you off. You've been voted out by the majority.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your story.
Look, I want, like, I know that I get really worked up and I get angry and I shit on some of these people, some more than others. That one particular woman, I fucking hate her. This guy, look, he seems earnest, and I agree that he should not be villainized. And I'm not villainizing this guy, and I wouldn't advise that anybody villainize him. Mike is right. He is a victim. He's a victim of disinformation. He's a victim of manipulative, lying piece of shit frauds like RFK and whoever the fuck he saw on Joe Rogan or whatever these other podcasts. He's a victim of disinformation, and he does seem earnest, and he's got a kid, and right. It's just like, I don't like this. Like, anti-vaxxers have gone so fucking out of control, and it's become such a mainstream belief system and ideology, and it is that. It's an ideology. It's a cult at this point. I don't know what it's going to take to break so many of these people free from this shit. Like, these people have been exposed so many times. RFK, me and Dan, what we just did to Steve Kirsch and Pierre Corey, like, all of these people have been exposed so thoroughly. And if you refuse to engage with that reality and that information, like, just like, you're not a villain, but you are shutting yourself off. Like, you clearly have stumbled upon a narrative that you've internalized and made part of your identity because it makes you feel smart and special. You're raging against the machine or whatever you think you're doing. And you are like, you're not truly searching for truth. You're not concerned with the well-being. You're not trying to get the facts right. You've fallen for a narrative. You've internalized it. You made it part of your identity, and you're shutting yourself off to any of the information that can help you get on the right track. Like, and there's millions of these people now. Millions. What used to be fringe is now so mainstream, and it's incredibly alarming. And we need to get this shit under control.
How you doing, sir?
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So I just want to say there haven't been a lot of people in public health advocating for natural remedies, or even talking about working out, talking about getting the fluoride out of the water, talking about getting the chemicals out of the food. So how could you say...
We need to get the chemicals out of the food, you guys. We can't have any chemicals in food. We should eat light or neutrinos, right? We can't have any chemicals in food. I fucking hate this guy. This is my second least favorite guy. That woman, you know who I'm talking about. I can't stand her, but this guy, just like, it's always the dumbest people who are the most confident in their stupidity. Let's get the chemicals out of the food, you guys. Great idea.
Say this when most of the problems that are facing this country, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, are really coming from all of these forever chemicals that are, yes, on clothes, but that even should be regulated as well. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think that everything RFK Jr. says is not necessarily wrong. The best analogy I can think of is if I have a clock that's broken, it's still right sometimes. but it doesn't mean I'm going to wear it and call it a good clock.
I love that. Have you been wrong before in your life?
Absolutely.
In your practice as a doctor? I've been wrong as well. And what I will say is all of us have the ability to atone. All of us have the ability to know new information.
Do you, though? Will you atone for being wrong about literally everything and everything you say being complete horseshit? Something tells me that you're not going to get there anytime soon.
Yeah. And just like I hope that we can be able to trade information and look on the other side of the aisle and say, you know what, there are people who care about people. Yeah. And I want you to realize that that's what you're surrounded by right now. We're not only talking about ourselves in terms of our own well-being and saying this is my choice, but also saying there's a big issue in this country as it pertains to the children. We could just look at the children, and even if we talk about, once again, the vaccine aspect of COVID and how COVID wasn't affecting children, but yet all of these other issues are, and they got to grow up in this world. Also, the idea for me that we have all of the testing and all of the evidence for COVID is also false. So when people are skeptical.
What the fuck does that mean? All the testing and all the evidence that COVID was false? Like, are you a fucking COVID denier? Are you a virus denier? Are you one of these assholes that pretends the viruses don't exist? Like, how deep is this gonna go, dude? And it's like, listen, I'm not going to go so far as to doubt that he thinks that he is right and thinks that he is saying things that would protect people and that he, you know, that he wants well for people and children. But if you don't have the humility to step back and go, you know what? I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. I've never learned anything about anything. I know zero things about science. So maybe, like, let's take some of this skepticism and some of this rage, but balance it out with actual facts from actual people who know what they're talking about. So you're trying to be like, oh, I think we should change. You don't want to do this. He's a fucking doctor. You don't want any of his knowledge. You don't want any of his expertise. You came here to spew all of your bullshit that you think is wisdom and hear nothing from the other side. That's what you want. Because you're a garbage person. You think you're a good person. You're not. I'm sorry.
And people are like, you know, people say the disinformation doesn't. I say the divine information doesn't, because they were kind of prophets when you look at it. If you look back at their old claims, a lot of things that they said came true. Even when we look at all of the things that Fauci was involved in, gain-of-function research, everything going on in that Wuhan lab in China, there's a lot of things that we can say. So I would hope that based off of this conversation, you could at least have a little bit of heart to say, you know what, maybe RFK is not just thinking about his career, but he's actually thinking about people. And I think all medical doctors should do the same.
Yeah, I think everyone in this room has been very charitable in speaking with me, and I actually really appreciate it. I'm here volunteering my time to try and just share what I've learned, my experience, my knowledge, what I would do if I was facing a dilemma with vaccinating my future child. And my goal is just to share the most accurate information, because when I started in healthcare, and I was a resident, and I was in my training, the amount of negative things people were doing to their health, like a lot of the metabolic things that you've discussed, like the lifestyle choices, were largely due to other people misinforming them or making miracle promises.
Like almost like doctors saying cigarette smoke is actually good for you? Exactly.
In fact, everything that we're doing in healthcare right now, like 50% of it over
I'm sorry. I'm just so tired. Like Pierre Corey did this in the debate too. Like two things. Number one, okay, somebody lied about tobacco in the 1950s. Therefore, let's distrust all doctors and all experts forever. Do you know how fucking dumb that is? And second of all, and Dan elaborated on this in the chunk that he gave me, but what they're pretending was like the consensus of the scientific community that was paid propaganda from the tobacco industry was not. It was advertising and like two scientists. Like it was barely anything. Even in the 1930s, the scientific consensus was about carcinogens and that the smoke was harmful, that these substances were harmful. So it's both fucking stupid and mostly a lie. Sorry.
The next 100 years will be found to be ineffective, or there's going to be something better.
And we'll go back to nature, right?
And some of it will go back to nature, like go.
No, man, don't dignify this bullshit naturalism. If you want to go back to nature, go live in the woods, deny yourself access to all technology, all medicine, all of that, and see how you do. See how your kids do. See how many of them survive to adulthood. Because again, prior to antibiotics and vaccines, it was a fucking 50% child mortality rate. Did you know that? Did you know that for most of human history, half of all kids died? Did you know that?
Going back to nature sounds really good, but there's also a little bit of a fallacy in that. So like in nature, people walk barefoot, but we don't choose to walk barefoot because we don't want to get tetanus infection from the floor and get cuts on our feet. There's
and all of these chemical-induced floors that we're putting, all of these bleaches, these things that are
exactly forever chemicals in our
chemical-induced floors. So you don't know what chemicals are. You don't know what induced means. Chemicals did not induce the floor. People built the floor. Yeah, if you don't know what chemicals are, and if you don't know that fucking all of this shit is chemicals, don't speak. How about that?
But grounding is a thing. Earthing is a thing that has proven to help with
So
cancer.
how do we balance a healthy lifestyle of being outdoors with modern science is where we need to go.
I think we can do it, right?
Yeah.
Because allopathic medicine did rule out, once again, I think I brought up the flexible
I'm not an
report,
allopathic physician.
Right, right.
How wild is that? I'm an osteopathic physician. So I think more of the holistic approach than a traditional allopathic physician would. I did not go to an allopathic medical school. And I am very passionate about one thing that I feel like is lost in modern healthcare. The body's ability to heal itself.
Yes. Amen.
And I think that sometimes we envision so much more control than what we actually have. Like, for example, do you think wearing a seatbelt saves lives?
It can, yeah, for sure.
Has it ever saved yours?
No.
Have you worn it all the time or majority of the time?
I have not worn it all the time,
The
but
majority
I
of the
could
time.
see.
You regularly wear it?
Yeah, for sure.
Does that mean it was stupid to have done so?
No, not at all. But I think the
That's
seatbelt
how
is not risking my life as a vaccine would be risking
So there's
my
some
life, right?
people that believe, like anti-vaxxers believe vaccines are harmful without great evidence, that seatbelts can cause you to get trapped and et cetera, and actually
You're
cause
saying
more problems.
anti-vaxxers believe that?
No, I'm saying like anti-vaxxers believe negative beliefs about vaccines that are not well proven. Some people say that about seatbelts. Some people say that the world is not round and they believe it to be flat.
Now, can you compare vaccine skepticism with really seatbelt skepticism? Like, do you think that that really weighs, especially when people have been injured from?
I think it does. I think it's pretty much right on par there. Because I'm sure that there are people who have died from getting tangled up in a seatbelt in a freak accident. Pretty comparable to the number of people who have died from vaccines, for being honest.
From vaccines, this is a real thing that
people have been injured by seatbelts.
I understand. So I'm going to give somebody else a time, but my claim is pretty much that RFK is standing up for a lot of different things that are going on in this country right now that are causing more damage than COVID.
No, RFK is an opportunistic piece of shit sociopath who is furthering his career, enriching himself, pushing complete nonsense. And just because once in a while he goes, oh, we should like eat better and be healthy, and you fucking fall for it. And you're like, oh, wow, he's a really good guy. He wants us to be healthy. He's not doing any of that shit. By the way, PFAS, polyfluoroalkyl substances, he recently loosened the restriction. He loosened the regulations on those. He doesn't give a fuck about any of this shit, right? It's one thing out of his mouth and then completely other totally opposite actions. He is not trying to make the food healthier. He's not trying to do any of this shit. It's the rhetoric he uses to brainwash people like you into thinking he isn't a fucking monster. That is the worst thing that has ever happened to public health in America.
I would love for someone else to stand up for those things as opposed to RFK.
I think
but we
you
agree
as well,
with
right?
Yeah.
Hey again.
Hello.
Hello. So his movement, the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, as a mom and as a woman, it speaks to a lot of people because especially as a nurse as well, and seeing the chronic disease epidemic in this country, we spend more in healthcare than any other country. We're more medicated than any other country, but yet we're not healthy. And I don't necessarily always agree with everything that RFK Jr. says. I mean, I don't agree with my husband on everything, and I willingly chose him, let alone some random politician. So I could see why you could probably disagree with it, but I think he speaks to something to a lot of people. He appeals to the parent. He appeals to like just the everyday American. They want to go back to a more natural way of life. And
yeah, he manipulates people with seductive rhetoric and ridiculous narratives that people fall for. And it's fucking alarming that you are a nurse that fell for this shit, and you want all of this bullshit going back to a natural way of life. What does that mean? What are you even talking about? You want to go back to dying from infections and viruses? Nothing that he's talking about getting the blah, blah, blah out of the food or anything like that. He doesn't care about any of that. It's also not policy-based. Like, what kind of policies do you want coming out of the HHS that is going to prevent people from eating unhealthy foods? Do you want him to ban specific kinds of foods? Is that the kind of society that you want to live in? Like, do you want less freedom about what to eat? I like, this is what I don't understand, is conservatives that are all about freedom and I want to do this and I want to do that. Like, if RFK ever was like, okay, fast food is banned, ice cream is banned, soda is banned. Remember when in New York City, there was some measure that was like, we can't have the soda in this monster size. We're going to make it now, the biggest is the extra large. Conservatives lost their fucking minds. They started showing up to conservative rallies with like their super ultra mega big gulp, and they're like, those stupid liberals can't tell me what to do. I'm going to drink 1,000,000 liters of soda. Like, the moment he's never going to do it, but if he ever tried to regulate what kind of food is available in this country, conservatives would shit their pants. So I don't know what you're talking about there. You're just advertising that you fall for anything. You just fall for this shit. It's crazy.
Like I said, and that's what I think. I disagree with that claim that he's a threat, because I think his intentions come from a good place. He's not necessarily anti-vaccine, but he wants safe vaccines.
He is the world's premier anti-vaxxer. He is the #1 anti-vaxxer in the world, pushing all this bullshit about vaccines and autism, pushing all this bullshit about vaccines being unsafe. The vaccines are safe. The ones in the vaccine schedule for children are safe, proven to be safe for decades. How the fuck are you a nurse? You should not be a nurse. This person should be fired. You should not be able to be a nurse.
Yeah, so I'm pointing out that I think RFK Jr. is a threat to public health, and you're pointing out reasons why he's good. And I think there are legitimate reasons of things that he says that are valuable that should be addressed. He said a lot of things that I think risk children's lives in the future. I think by potentially getting rid of vaccines, increasing diseases that were once extinct coming back is extremely worrying to me as a primary care provider.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please proceed.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Again. Okay. RFK Jr. has been revealing so much of what we have been needing to know about health. And again, like you were saying, some of the things that have been hidden from us. I mean, I'm a YouTuber, right? I have a YouTube channel. And when I talked about the vaccine, I was censored. And he wants to bring back the freedom of speech. He wants to bring back the power of the people. And we have been really just oppressed by Big Pharma and by the government.
Oh my God, Big Pharma demonetized some of my YouTube videos. It was Big Pharma that did that, not Google. Holy shit, cry me a fucking river. You tried to spread lies on the internet because you're stupid, and Google, which is a private company, decided to do something about that. Yeah, go on Rumble. Find another platform that welcomes lies that kill people.
And we want our freedom back. And even my friend Liana Warner Gray, she is the author of The Earth Diet. She had cancer right here, a tumor. And she got healed through organic foods. She is a huge promoter of RFK and MAHA. And
yeah, she's an idiot and a liar. No, she did not have her throat cancer removed from or cured from organic foods. No, she did not.
She talks about how this is the way to heal the world, is through the natural medicine of God. God gave us everything that we needed.
God gave us everything that we needed, like the plague, the Black Death, right? Smallpox, polio, all of this shit that we've cured ourselves, not your fucking benevolent deity that definitely doesn't exist. We did that shit, and you don't like it because it's unnatural. I like nature. I like everybody dying. I like an average life expectancy of 30. That's what I like. I like nature.
Reality is, if we don't get vaccinated with Jesus, we will face God on Judgment Day. It's not just about health. It's about freedom of speech.
Like, what the fuck do you even say that? If we don't get vaccinated with Jesus, like, you don't know what vaccines are. Jesus isn't real. Judgment Day is not a thing. Like, we don't, like, it's about freedom. You have freedom of speech. You're allowed to say all this shit and not go to jail. You don't go to jail when you say dumb shit like that, so you have freedom of speech. Freedom of speech doesn't mean there are no consequences for all the dumb shit that you say. Freedom of speech means that you don't go to jail for saying something. Did you ever go to jail for saying some dumb shit like what you just said? No? Then you have freedom of speech. So what the fuck are you whining about? Oh my God, the Jesus thing in here, like, just, I can't do it.
It's about the government's trying to kill us. Even Bill Gates had, I think it was kind of like a TED Talk, but he had like, a talk where he said, we need to get the population down, and we're going to do a great job of it. And you know how? Through improving vaccines, because we're going to lower the population that way.
Okay,
and
pause,
you can find it.
Pause. You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
You've been voted out because even the other idiot anti-vaxxers are like, this woman is a fucking moron. Get her out of that chair. Bill Gates is trying to murder everybody. The government is trying to kill us all. Like, what? Like, where does this logic come from? Like, you understand, even if you're like, oh, the evil government and the evil oligarchy, which to an extent, like, yeah, like, sure, there's bad shit, there's bad people at the top. Why would they want to murder everybody when they're trying to subjugate us and profit off of human labor, right? Like, it just fails at every level. Like, everything you say is wrong and also doesn't make any sense.
Hello.
Hi, how
Pleasure.
are you? Nice to meet you. My name is Michael. I kind of bring some curiosities for you. So in 2010, my mother was vaccinated with the flu vaccine. And right after 3 days later, she received half of her face was paralyzed. And the doctor was actually expressing that it could have been a number of things. It could have been what she ate, whatever. But at the end of the day, she most likely believes that it was because of that flu vaccine back in 2010. Assuming, again, that we've had roughly 20 years of flu vaccine studies going around. So my question to you is, how is it possible that someone could potentially get Bell's palsy 3 days after she got a flu vaccine, which could have permanently allowed her face to be paralyzed for the rest of her life?
Yeah, what else happened? Right? Why aren't you talking about something that she ate or something that she did or some other thing, some other substance that she came in contact? Had to be the vaccine, right? Had to be the vaccine. I've never told this story on my channel, but I had Bell's palsy. I had Bell's palsy when I was 28. It was after I went to Italy. It was actually the last time I saw my grandfather, my dad's dad. He died just about a month later. But I was there for a couple of weeks. My dad was there. My sister was there. My stepmom was there. We did a lot of, I don't know what, like, this is just one idea. Like, I'm not sure exactly what happened. It could be viral or bacterial. Somebody said, like, we did a lot of hiking, so we were in Bolzano in the Italian, the Alps on the Italy side, and high elevation, low elevation, high elevation, low elevation. I don't know what happened. I definitely didn't get any vaccine anytime around there. But on the plane on the way home, I had a very long trip because I had 1 or 2 layovers. It took about 24 hours to get home. On that trip, Bell's palsy set in. The left side of my face was paralyzed. So I was freaking the fuck out. I'm on the plane just like, okay, my face doesn't work. This is fucking weird. And so got home at like 3 a.m, started Googling. I figured out like, yeah, okay, Bell's palsy. I'm pretty sure that's what I have. Was like, I'll go to the ER in the morning. Couldn't sleep a wink. I was like freaking out. So I was like, fuck it, I'll go now. So like 4 a.m, I go to the ER. I'm like, I think I have Bell's palsy. And they're like, yeah, you have Bell's palsy. Your face is paralyzed. It sucked. It lasted about a month. So for about a month, I had facial paralysis. I would drive around in the car like this. You can't blink I couldn't blink my left eye. Like when I would blink, I would wink. Nothing. The only cool thing about it is that I can't do the one eyebrow raise, but when I had Bell's palsy, if I did this, I would only raise this eye. So that was kind of cool. But I was speaking out of the side of my mouth like this, and I had to sleep with an eye patch on, and I had to put eye drops in all the time because my fucking. I actually still even just normally, my left eyelid droops a little bit, and then when I get really drunk, I start to kind of do that. Like, it's very easy for me to close my left eye without closing my right eye because there's like a remnant of paralysis on that side of my face. So I don't really know why I told that story. I just heard Bell's palsy and I was like, I've had that. But it has nothing to do with the vaccine. The point is that just like, why, like, anti-vaxxers will take any opportunity to blame something on a vaccine. Why are you not even considering something else that could have happened? What else could they have come into contact with? Was it really 3 days? Was it 3 weeks? Are you fabricating that? Are you exaggerating that? I bet you are. This is why it's always narrative driven for anti-vaxxers. It's never data driven. Always narrative driven. This is exactly why you can't trust VAERS database, because it's lying piece of shit frauds, and then also people like this who, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, I think he's being earnest, and will put this in a database and say, my so-and-so mom or whoever he was talking about got Bell's palsy from a vaccine. I know this. I didn't consult any medical expert. This is just some shit I made up. And also, it wasn't 3 days, it was 3 weeks, but I'll say 3 days. And the case closed. Bell's palsy from a vaccine. Vaccines give you Bell's palsy now, because I say so. The person with no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't think it was a vaccine, buddy. Look into it.
Versus someone who got it and maybe didn't have those symptoms that I'm explaining.
Yeah, so Bell's palsy, interesting condition because we oftentimes don't even know what caused it. A lot of times we think it has a viral cause. Now, if your mother in this situation believes that the vaccine was to blame for this condition,
yes,
there is a way for her to get compensated for it because vaccines do carry side effects. I am not your mom's doctor, so I wouldn't know all the circumstances surrounding it, which vaccine, which number dose, what other health conditions existed, what medications were being taken. There's a lot to take into consideration because health has so many variables. And even when she has her own doctor, they might not even know the right answer. That's why when you apply for this vaccine injury compensation fund, it's a no-fault system with no jury, meaning that they're trying to do their best to get people paid out as quickly as possible. Because if you were to sue a vaccine manufacturer, it would take forever. It would take huge sums of money for your mom to be able to fight that case. But by applying to the Vaccine Injury Compensation Fund, you're actually able to get payouts on average 2 to 3 years, which is much faster than going through a full jury trial. So this is all to say that vaccine could have caused that side effect in your mother. I can't say yes or no, but if it did, she should be compensated. The fact that that compensation exists, I think, is a good thing, and I think it shows that we're honest that vaccine side effects absolutely happen.
Now, the other thing I do want to kind of ask, is it true that you as a doctor, you follow a certain code of conduct?
Sure.
Do you ever say that there's things that you say that have to be political?
I have been critical of the CDC, the WHO. I've been critical of Dr. Fauci. I've been critical to Dr. Fauci in front of him, sitting at interviews.
All right, let's end there. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. My next claim is that anti-vaxxers are both victims and villains of misinformation. Hello, hello. Pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure. So, the way I see it, the vaccine itself should be, the discussion, but we could talk about that.
Yeah, I think the reason why I say it that way is that, for example, I believe you're a vaccine skeptic, and I think vaccine hesitancy, skepticism is warranted. But I think when you're an anti-vaxxer, you become an activist for spreading misinformation, and that makes you both a villain and a victim because you've largely been misled.
Yeah, except for the people that they fall for, who are exclusively villains. It's just a little too charitable. There's what we're calling vaccine hesitancy these days is nearly synonymous with being an anti-vaxxer. There's one or two people here that I would make that distinction and say this is vaccine hesitancy that stems from some area of legitimacy. But most of these people are just completely fucking brainwashed. Have no idea what vaccines are just have no idea what any of the data says about anything. But I agree with the sentiment in general that they're both there's a lot of they are victims of lies, but then they perpetuate the lies to some degree of ferocity.
So the anti-vaxxer, would you agree that there's some reason for someone to be an anti-vaxxer?
Absolutely. And a lot of times they're the ones misled. So that's why I think they're victims. Because it's easy if someone shares let's do it this way. I think this is a very visual and easy way to understand it. If there are two streets to cross to get to the other side of the road, and I've run 1 million people through this trial, and I saw that the sidewalk on the right is much safer than the sidewalk on the left, or the street on the left. Mm-hmm. And someone starts spreading misinformation that the right sidewalk is actually so deadly, and they saw someone die and it was brutal, and they make it very powerful, and they start convincing people to cross on the more dangerous sidewalk. I would say that they're being a villain by telling people to go on the other side of the sidewalk, and they're also a victim because they may have been misled by someone who shared a very scary story.
Understood. So what would be an example of the misinformation that you're referring to?
Like that vaccines cause autism.
So they don't cause autism, you're saying?
Correct.
At all?
Correct.
Well, that's news to me.
Yeah, I guess it's news to you and the two people who instantly threw the flags up. Yes, they do, because some jerk on the internet told me that they do. Let's see how far we get with this.
Okay, what about death? Doesn't the vaccine save lives?
Correct, it lowers the death rate. It doesn't prevent it 100%.
Okay, so why are people dying?
Because it's not 100%.
But reality is, majority of the people who were dying were vaccinated people.
Correct, because most people were vaccinated.
The misinformation, autism, that's one I have to look into.
Yeah, you should look into that. You should look into that. And you should look into how Andrew Wakefield is a disgusting piece of shit fraud, and that everybody else who has perpetuated this narrative is a disgusting piece of shit fraud. But also, Dr. Mike, I mean, so he's speaking generally, I assume, about every kind of vaccine and every kind of disease that you can get. But with COVID vaccines in particular, the overwhelming majority of deaths were from unvaccinated once the vaccines had been rolled out. Something around 90% of the deaths were unvaccinated. So, we need to talk about that too, right?
Is there anything else?
In terms of what's bad misinformation, I've heard people say things like there's no such thing as a safe vaccine. I think that's misinformation.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Appreciate it. Pleasure. Very passionate.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, first of all, I want to say your claim has some logic to it. Okay. yes, I can agree that some people are victims to vaccines, but I also agree that there are some anti-vaxxers who do come at vaccines very aggressively. But what I want to say is when it comes to the actual efficacy of vaccines, we have a constitutional right. The first Constitution says we have a right to religious practices. And some people will say, oh, hey, this is the body God gave me, and I don't want to take any vaccines.
Sure.
And other people will say those people are crazy because maybe vaccines help. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is I think it depends on the actual vaccine, if somebody could be a victim or a perpetrator, I guess you can say. Because when it comes to the swine flu, that vaccine actually killed 32 people, and they discontinued it shortly after because they knew it wasn't going to be anything good, I guess you can say.
My whole stance on vaccines is strictly to do with the science, less so about religious stances, whether or not someone chooses or not to vaccinate. So when I say that someone is a victim of anti-vaccine misinformation, I think what I'm saying is that they've been tricked by misinformation or perhaps misled by an emotional argument, less so that they've been a victim of a vaccine.
Do you mind if I ask, can that also work in the opposite logic, as in somebody can trick you into thinking that vaccine is God's great gift on earth, as in when Anthony Fauci told us, hey, the COVID, you can't transmit it.
You mean like treating science as a religion?
Yes, exactly.
I think that's not a good way to go.
Yes.
When we said lines like trust the science, I wasn't even a fan because trust the science almost played like trust the scientist.
Yes, the exact one.
And that's not what it should be, because science is a process by which you ask questions.
Yes.
And in fact, when we do research, we try to disprove ourselves. That's what good research is.
Yeah.
Research isn't supposed to be done to confirm your belief in something because you want it to be true.
Yes.
You're trying your best to disprove whatever it is that you're setting out to find out.
Yes.
And you're trying to think in every way where your limitation is on the study, where your bias can be in the study. We actually meet in hospitals and we have something called Journal Club, where we look at a study and we say, where's the bias in the study? Where's the limitations? Where can the next study design be better? And there are experts that are constantly dealing with this to try and improve our further research. So it's not about trust the scientist. It shouldn't be treated like a religion. It should be an ever-evolving process that is continually questioned.
Yeah, but also educated people don't do that, right? It's not trust this singular scientist. It's either learn science so you understand it, or trust the global scientific community. Trust, and he mentioned it before, and it's absolutely correct. Trust the consensus of the global scientific community. If there's one thing that you can trust, it's not some jerk that you saw on Joe Rogan. It's not Bobby Kennedy. It's trust the consensus of the global scientific community. Because how the fuck is any special interest group going to buy out every goddamn scientist in the world? You can buy out one scientist. Andrew Wakefield proves that, right? There can be one scientist or doctor. He was a gastroenterologist. So if somebody said, Andrew Wakefield is a gastroenterologist, he's a doctor, so we have to trust him, that would be wrong. You shouldn't do that. In that particular case, he was a gigantic piece of shit fraud who sold out and did a shit study for £500,000 and then became a grifter for the rest of his life. So you don't implicitly trust an individual. You can have a hierarchy of trust, right? I'm more likely to trust one real scientist or doctor over some jerk on Joe Rogan who has no fucking idea what they're talking about. But that could, you know, like there could be a doctor who's a fraud and then some guy who's not a doctor. Let's say I went on Joe Rogan, right? Let's say I went on Joe Rogan and I started taking a big old dump on Andrew Wakefield or Pierre Corey or any of these people who were doctors and are frauds, right? That would be an instance, well, you know, Dave's not a doctor, but he's right. And those former doctors are a piece of shit frauds and he's exposing them. That's correct. So very few people earnestly said trust the science, and I agree it's not the greatest mantra because it can be skewed in a different way, in a way that's not intended. But the point is, if you're going to trust somebody, trust the global scientific community, the millions of people all over the world in different countries, private sector, public sector, etc., who all agree on this vaccine is safe or this is the mechanistic cause of so and so. you know, we're going to have to trust people unless you want to go ahead and gain all of this knowledge personally. And I know nobody in this room is going to do that. So you should consider that.
At the same time, when we look at the manufacturing of vaccines and how they're made, some people with religious views are concerned. I will say a lot of the major leaders in each major religion in the United States has put forth that people should get vaccinated and that it is acceptable by their religion. That's not me. I'm not a religious leader, but I just have seen that put out.
Let's say they had those religious beliefs where they're like, I don't want to take it. Would you, I know you said, would you fully agree those people were victims of that said policy? Like if you're a healthcare worker, military.
I wouldn't view them as a victim because I saw them getting the vaccine as largely a positive.
Okay, I can see you see it as a positive, but for me, I never took the COVID vaccine. I never got COVID, so I don't see the positivity for me.
Fair.
Is there a way you can prove that the COVID vaccine was in fact a positive for everybody that took it?
Because you didn't get it. Because a lot of people got it, which reduced the probability of you getting it. So you got lucky and you didn't get it. Congratulations.
Okay.
I can't prove that it's for everybody. In fact, when someone shares a story, whether or not it worked for them, whether they had a side effect on them, I can't prove it.
Yeah.
When we look at research, we look at populations, we look at averages, and off of those averages, we can make certain statements. They're never foolproof. In fact, the reason why we have a vaccine injury compensation fund is for that exact reason, so that there are individuals who have been hurt by vaccines, that they should be compensated.
That compensation only comes after the National Childhood Vaccine Act, or I might be saying it wrong, came out in 1986.
Okay.
But basically, it was a blanket type of pardon for any type of pharmaceutical company to be held liable for any injury or death. Because before that, they were dealing with all kinds of lawsuits. I think it was back in 1962 or something like that before they did it.
Yeah, so part of what you said is really right, and part of it is a little bit in a slightly different direction, and I'll explain to you exactly how. Right now, if you believe you've been hurt by a vaccine, you can apply through this National Vaccine Compensation Fund. The way that that fund is funded is every time we give a vaccine, there's a 75-cent tax put on every vaccine, and that money goes to fund that fund. The reason that was created was that vaccine companies in the 1980s, as you said, were facing major lawsuits at the time because of vaccines, and there was historically a special that aired on television that scared people, that spiked all the lawsuits.
Okay.
So pharmaceutical companies said, we're not going to make vaccines. It's too risky for us. It's too expensive. So we face shortages. We face decreased innovation. And we created this tax as a way to potentially take some of the risk off their hands. However, if you go through the National Injury Compensation Fund and you're not satisfied that you didn't get money, you're satisfied that you didn't get enough money, you just want to pull out of it in general, vaccine companies can still be sued. It's just a lot easier to sue through the compensation fund.
Okay,
Yeah, this is the funniest part to me is anti-vaxxers pretend that it's impossible to sue vaccine manufacturers. They get sued all the time, right? In fact, this is Bobby Kennedy's primary source of income is referrals for these lawsuits. So yeah, it's completely accurate, right? If pharma is going to lose money producing something, whether it's not going to sell enough or they're getting frivolous lawsuits, then they won't make it. Right? And if we don't get any vaccines, we all lose. Somebody has to fucking make the vaccines. It's expensive as shit. And if they're going to face all these frivolous lawsuits, then they won't do it. And we want a vaccine. So this fund was created so people can get compensated that way. And they still do sue vaccine manufacturers all the time. So that happens.
I do appreciate you giving me that information. A little bit of it was new to me. But anyways, I know you said it's 75 cents on the dollar that the vaccine companies pay out to that. So who's the other 25 cents? The taxpayer?
No. There's an added charge. So for example, if a vaccine costs $10 to administer, the cost of that vaccine will be $10.75.
Okay, pause.
And that little 75 cents will go.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please
Thank you.
return to your seat.
Hello, pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
When you look at people that are proponents of the vaccine, especially in important capacities, like if we take the example of Jay Varma, he was a COVID czar at the peak of COVID, and he was a public health advisor under Bill de Blasio, and he's having private gatherings in August of 2020. It was a sex party, right? So 8 to 10 people, and I think it's really funny too, because
you're saying he's being hypocritical.
Yeah, he's being hypocritical.
Absolutely.
And
do you know who the number one hypocrites are? Healthcare providers.
Right.
We're the worst patients. We're the worst at following our own advice.
And that essentially proves what I'm trying to say, because it's like, if you're advocating for the vaccine, but you're doing the exact opposite.
Can I ask if you think that if you are...
It's not the exact opposite. They can still be getting vaccinated and then have a sex party. Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, you're advocating, you're talking about social distancing and vaccines are different things. So yeah, if they had a sex party, well, okay, fuck them. I mean, yeah, that's not cool to say you all can't get near each other, but we're gonna have sex. Yes. So people in power are often hypocrites. Okay. What the hell does that have to do with the efficacy and safety of vaccines? I don't know.
Sharing accurate information, but you might not be following the same stances. You could still be sharing accurate information? So in this case, he was saying that we should be social distancing or not having parties, and he had party in the situation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So is there a world where he's telling the truth, you shouldn't be doing this thing,
okay,
but he did that thing and that's not good?
Also doing it?
No. Like, but I'm saying that it's wrong that he did it, but it's right that he's sharing the right information. Is that possible?
I mean, that's true, but...
Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority.
Okay.
Please return to your seat.
Great point, guys.
Very clean. Get proven wrong, get shown how your logic is invalid, and then get out of the chair.
Hello.
Hello, pleasure.
How are you?
Nice to
Dr.
meet you.
Mike. My name is Janelle, and I'm also an educator. I'm a conscious sex therapist, so I deal with longevity, preserving the body. And so I think the real villains are people like Fauci, right? Did you know that his salary is like $500K, and the highest they said, and he's worth $11 million? Crazy. Maybe.
What's RFK worth? What does he make every year? Right? What the fuck? Like $500,000? Oh, that's not that much. I mean, it's well above the average salary, but it's not an insane salary. What do anti-vaccine? What's Andrew Wakefield's net worth? What's the net worth of all the people that you fucking worship? Give me a fucking break. Sex conscious, whatever the fuck you are.
He's getting the rest of that money. And then let me go on just real quick.
Sure.
And that something interesting I thought too when you were talking about the VAERS studies, that there was said that there was like 40 million of...
Sorry, there's studies? That's not a thing. It's not a study. It's a database where people self-report vaccine injuries, the overwhelming majority of which are not real.
First reactions, not including the deaths. And with polio, because I want to talk more about like child vaccine, because I'm a mom and all that stuff. But polio, which came out in 1968, only had 123K, and tetanus had 15K. So it's crazy, right? These have been around for ages. But anyway, that's the B-side. So the villains, I think, are maybe not you, because you seem very nice, Dr. Mike.
Okay, thank you.
But doctors, you know, when I was, okay, so we have something in common. I was on welfare. I have a crazy story, but when I had my son, I decided, you know, I want to do this clean. I want to be clean. I don't want to do the vaccines. And they made me feel, like you said, like the most terrible mom. So we have these doctors and the drug companies who are making us feel like we're the villains, but they're the villains, because health should be a matter of choice, right?
It is a fucking choice. You're definitely exaggerating. They definitely didn't make you feel like a villain. They probably just informed you in a very responsible manner that it's in your best interest to vaccinate your child. Because it is. And I hope that when your child grows up, they're like, what the fuck, mom? Why didn't you give me vaccines and protect me from a bunch of shit like measles and pertussis and all this crap that I totally could have gotten because you're a negligent idiot?
The problem is we're not healthy anymore, right? So they forced me to, or they tried to force me to get vaccines all the way through my pregnancy. Why do we want to vaccinate newborns with Hep B? What are they? Are they having anal sex and intravenous needles or getting tattoos in utero?
Holy shit. Can be transmitted from mother to child at birth, and then also during child, it can be transmitted from biting. You can transmit Hep B from biting, and kids bite each other. Why is this so fucking hard for people to wrap their heads around, that these things can be transmitted by many means? It doesn't have to be anal sex. Why did you say anal sex? Do you understand that vaginal sex also can transmit viruses? Jesus fucking Christ. Good God.
Son, was it?
Well, Hep B is not just spread by all those things that you mentioned.
Right.
But there's children that get it from sharing food utensils, biting one another in preschool.
But newborn, doctor? I mean, you have to understand, newborn, like my son.
They go to daycare where there's a lot of other children that.
Right, but not in the first few hours of life. Like the best thing they need is breast milk. And
yeah, you can give them a vaccine that protects against something that could have been transmitted during childbirth, and then breastfeed them. Like, why are you trying to make this distinction? Like, no one's like, vaccine good, no breastfeeding. Like, fucking breastfeed. What are you talking about?
Like, for me to like be forced, feel like I was forced to do that. Anyways, I went almost
forced, feel like I was forced. I want to say forced because I want to feel like I'm fighting against this. Nobody fucking forced you. And I don't feel like I'm forced. No, they just told you, by the way, this is the thing that you should do if you give a fuck about the safety of your child. We can't force you to do it, so here's the information. Try to be a responsible parent. Oh, you're not gonna be? Well, fucking fine. Maybe your child will disown you later.
A year.
Well, were you forced?
I wasn't, but they did try to force me. They make you feel like you're a terrible mom. I refused all the vaccines while pregnant, and then I was already on welfare, so it made me feel, they didn't make me feel, I chose to feel like I was the villain when they were vilifying me. And so just to go back, because I wanted some of the other prompts about like the immunity and things like that, which I think is really important to talk about, because my son was in school, he was in preschool, but he didn't go until he was almost a year. I'm sleep deprived. All the vaccines until he was almost a year. When I put him into preschool, because I was in a program to like go to school and you get welfare, you get the child care covered, all that stuff, right? So no vaccines. My son was never sick a day in his life.
Bullshit. My son was never sick a day. Your son was never sick, never had a cold, never had anything. You're fucking lying. You're a liar.
To this day still. I nursed him till he was 7, which I know people think is weird, but
oh my God. You breastfed your son till he was 7. Holy shit. Your kid is gonna have major problems. You suck a lot. You're a horrible person.
Other cultures, they do it. During COVID, someone said it, we traveled to like 20 countries and neither one of us got it and neither one of us are vaccinated until when he was a year, they forced me to get it, and because I was on welfare.
No, they didn't. Nobody forced you. Nobody forced you to get any vaccine. No, they didn't. You are a liar.
This brings it back to like why we should have a choice, right? I was too nervous. A lot of my friends and people that know me, they forged it. They told me I go to Vistaprint. So what happens is when you take that right, and you said you didn't know how many states have that privilege, the religious exemptions, all of them do except for 3, California being one of them, sadly, Mississippi and West Virginia. So we were not able to just say, listen, it's my body, my choice, my religious beliefs. As someone said, I want to decide for myself and my son.
Yeah, so you're sharing the story of your son, and I'm so glad that it worked out that your son didn't get one of these vaccine preventable illnesses. We largely don't see a lot of these vaccine preventable illnesses because of vaccines. smallpox, polio, measles for the most part, all of these vaccine preventable illnesses are no longer seen. And that's partially why that if a single person doesn't get a vaccine, they end up not getting the illness.
But that doesn't go against your, okay.
I'll just finish that point because it's so valuable. And you're sharing the story about your child, and I'm so happy that because I never want a child to get sick, period.
Of course not.
I have people in my practice, because I'm a family medicine doctor, I treat children and adults, who are 95 years old, 100 years old, who have smoked all their life.
Yeah.
And they're healthy.
They're healthy. It's weird. I know. It happens.
But does that mean I'm going to use that as a reason as to why I shouldn't discourage people from smoking?
I understand that, but the herd immunity concept, this brings me back to my next point. I used to get like nailed to the cross before he was vaccinated. And even when he did, I'd only let them do one at a time. Because the problem is...
How much did you pay for the vaccines?
I didn't. Remember, I'm poor. I'm on welfare at this time.
So, look at this.
So I was forced...
We're paying for medical care to prevent and save you the trouble of an illness.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Dr. Mike, it's good to meet you. I'm Hunter Howell. Oh man, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? So when it comes to the science, right, back in the day it was labeled misinformation if you were to question the validity of, for example, masks. But just out of last year, an epidemiologist, Tom Jefferson, came out with a rigorous analysis that stated that they had no effect benefiting people in terms of the reduction of getting respiratory illness.
No. I can't fucking... It's the same as the, social distancing doesn't do anything. Yes, it fucking does. It's a communicable disease. If you don't get near each other, you cannot transmit the disease. Same with masks. People who say masks don't do anything are fucking idiots. How is the virus transmitted? In aerosol droplets. What does the mask do? Blocks the aerosol droplets, right? If you cough all over somebody and you have COVID, they're probably going to get COVID. I mean, the viral particles have to get into the respiratory system and everything, but it's pretty good probability if you wear a mask that blocks all of the aerosol droplets. I mean, it's possible that it's still possible that a little bit might come out, but what are the odds not wearing a mask versus wearing a mask? Night and day. Night and day. So if putting a little thing over your mouth reduces the probability that you're going to transmit COVID by 95%, who in their right fucking mind is going to go, well, let's not even wear it then anyway? People who think that masks didn't do anything are fucking morons. I'm sorry.
Including COVID-19. Right, you have Anthony Fauci, which I know we've talked about today, in regards to the social distancing, right? It was trust him, trust the science. But he said in a congressional House subcommittee that there was no science behind it, and he got grilled for that.
No science behind the idea that a communicable disease that, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself again, but just how fucking dumb do you have to be to fall for this shit and then say it in this thing? Oh, a disease that you get by coughing and breathing on each other, but there's no science behind the idea that you won't transmit it if you don't go near each other. What the fuck are you talking about?
So when we're demonized and we're talked about years ago that we're, these anti-vaxxers, these skeptics, these really bad people, and that we're villains, well, not only are we not villains, we're speaking the truth, and we were censored on it. So I would kind of like your thoughts on that, about, all of the information I said.
Everything you're saying is bullshit, and you were not censored. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
I view someone as an anti-vaxxer that knows the data exists as it is, and then spreads things that are not true, or stretches the truth in a way to make things valuable for them. The people that I have seen being anti-vaxxers, I think that they're being villains by spreading that misinformation, because they're leading people to make bad decisions about their healthcare.
Mike, yes, what you're saying is true, but just you didn't shit on him for the dumb shit that he just said. You have to, I want you to do more. They say dumb, wrong things, and you don't correct them at all, even in your super polite way. Be super nice and polite, but you need to, he just said insane dumb shit. Correct him, please.
So, to correct me if I'm wrong, you're villainizing people for exercising their First Amendment right in the Constitution of free speech?
No, I think that when you're starting to say things that impact other people's decisions, I view it negatively through a negative lens, knowing what I know about vaccines.
So then could we also flip the narrative and say that they were harming people in the information that they were giving out?
No, the people that took the COVID vaccine had a lower death rate significantly. In fact, when we were working in the hospitals, those, especially early on, those who were most sick and who were sick by larger numbers were people who weren't vaccinated.
I think a lot of people in here, including myself, have a huge distrust, of course, in the United States government and in the mainstream media, as well as in the science.
What led to your distrust?
Well, the fact that they got it wrong. We can't villainize people or call them villains just...
Got what wrong? What are you talking about? Considering that you're wrong about everything you fucking say, how are you judging what's wrong and right? You have no idea what you're talking about. Is it possible that you were fed actual facts and you rejected them because of some lies you were fed from some douchebag on Joe Rogan? I think that's probably what happened.
Because they disagree. When they disagree, they can be talking with facts, things of substance that are true, as many people here have said today. It's not coming from a state of emotion. The death rate of COVID, I know it fluctuated on the time frame, but it was under 1%. From December to January of 2022, the CDC has the numbers on it. It was less than 0.5%.
Oh my God, it was only 0.5%. Like, do you understand that there's millions of people? Do you understand that millions of people died from COVID? Right? Like, yeah, I know that, like if 50% of all humans died, like, remember the Black Death that killed like half of all people? Does it need to be that bad for you to give a shit about it? Like, how fucking, like, millions of people died. You don't give a shit about that? Really?
Less than 0.1%. It was 0.06%. People were dying of it. Now, don't get me wrong, that's terrible. But with all of the information we know now, you know, how can we still villainize people that are anti-vaccine completely due to how much that the government and Big Pharma got this
I'll answer that
wrong?
question with one simple sentence based on something you just said.
Okay.
About 100+ million lives have been saved by vaccines.
From the Lancet, yes.
From the Lancet. And you agree with that stat, approximately?
I agree with the Lancet's findings, yes.
And yet you have anti-vaxxer like RFK Jr. saying statements like there's no such thing as a safe vaccine. That's a villain.
Yeah, so I don't think he's a villain because he thinks that there's no such thing as a safe vaccine.
How do you not think someone's a villain when vaccines, you just said, saved over 100 million lives, and this person's encouraging people to not take those vaccines?
Yeah, so I think that was a little bit out of context, right? When he's saying people...
It's not out of context at all. How the fuck do you take a statement like that out of context? There's no good vaccine. Fucking Pierre Corey and Steve Kirsch said that too in the debate, right? I was grilling them. The very first thing that I said, it's all about COVID vaccines, but magically everybody's against all vaccines that follow you, and they flat out admitted all vaccines are bad. All of them are bad. Right? What context am I missing here? Right? What context properly qualifies a statement like there's no safe vaccine? Use your fucking brain, dude.
People to not take the vaccines. Once again, he's giving his opinion off the information that he knows to be true. We can't villainize someone for disagreeing with us, right?
Okay, pause. Turn to your seat.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So many choices. How about my local northern New Jersey friend? Seems like you have a very personal story that has impacted you. You're in the area where I practice healthcare, and it seems like you're very well read up on facts and are ready to challenge me, which I love.
So my claim is, just as you may have said, there really is no safe vaccine.
I think it largely depends on what your definition of safe is. When you're outdoors, there's a chance you would get hit by lightning. But if you're in a field by yourself, I consider that to be a safe place. Does that mean it's without risk? No, there's bacteria in the ground. There's lightning above. There's also all sorts of risks. But I think when you weigh the risk versus benefit, to say that means you're largely ignoring data that shows that vaccines are largely safe.
Very nice. Excellent answer. That's all I've got.
So I think we have a differentiation or a difference of opinion on the actual data when we spoke about VAERS and those adverse reactions. If anybody ever goes to look at that, pulling that data and putting it into something that's actually able to be viewed and parsed out by your average patient or your lowest common denominator patient, it's next to impossible.
Yeah, you trust morons who are lying about things that happen to them, and you distrust actual scientists doing actual rigorous studies and publishing legitimate data. So maybe think about that and if that's a good position to take.
Well, that's not what it's for. It's for the researchers to find patterns, because one thing happening to one individual, even across thousands of patients, does not necessarily mean that there's a causative pattern. I have a question for you. What do you consider a safe activity?
I don't think I could come up with a completely safe activity.
Cool. Debunk your entire position. Nothing is safe. Therefore, why the fuck should vaccines be safe, according to you?
I think safety would be, complete safety is not life.
I agree.
Well, I think we can put it on balance, right?
Yeah.
So speaking in the absolutes, what's completely safe? It doesn't exist. Sure. So we're arguing over something or debating or conversing over something that is really not an intellectually honest dialogue.
Fair.
So when you look at vaccines and you have to put on balance, where's the risk, where's the benefit? Well, I draw it back to where my children were. Mm-hmm. And I'd push back a little bit on your claim where you said that the reason that there were no pediatric deaths is because we vaccinated. That sequence is a little bit out of line from my standpoint. There was no risk, yet we vaccinated anyway.
Look, man, like, also, do you remember, like, in the early pandemic, we were like locked down, like people weren't going anywhere. Like, you understand that that is a factor, right? And everybody whines about, anti-vaxxers whine about, like, oh, what happened to, like, the flu, and what happened to, like, blah, 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 and it's all, yeah, people were in their house not going anywhere. That is going to make it less likely for you to contract anything, right? So, like, kids did die, children did die from COVID, dramatically lesser than other age groups. But, like, why are you so, like, anti-vaxxers have no ability to access critical thinking skills. Like, it's so easy to debunk everything that they say without even, oftentimes, without requiring any kind of broad data set, you know?
And then when we vaccinated, then came the deaths.
Except no, someone told you that and you believed them.
Or the adverse reactions, or the ones we've yet to see. Thrombosis, menstrual problems, fertility problems, especially for girls, women, thrombosis.
You've heard of myocarditis in young males post-vaccine?
Pericarditis.
We're not hiding that. We believe that it happens. But at the same time, you need to look at the natural incidence of myocarditis, meaning, like, what is the rate that it happens to an average person irrespective of what condition they have? And then you have to go one step further and compare it to what is the other side of that coin, which is getting COVID-19 without the vaccine, and what the risk of developing myocarditis after that will be. And there are times where scientists, sometimes to win an argument, are going to be like, oh, you'll never get myocarditis if you get the vaccine because you're not getting COVID-19. The vaccine doesn't prevent it 100% of the time. We have to be honest in that. But when we compare the rates of getting myocarditis with the vaccine or getting myocarditis from COVID-19, it's much higher in COVID-19 than it is with the vaccine.
Interesting. This fact check just said 7 times higher. I had read about 4 times higher from COVID than the vaccine. They say 7. That could be the case.
So my position would be mortality, right? It's quality of life, quantity of life. Sure. If the mortality for a child was 0, mm-hmm. and we give them a vaccine that has known risks, doesn't that give you pause?
Yeah, I am pausing. I am pausing because it's not 0. More than 0 children died from COVID. And I'm not aware of a single child that died from a COVID vaccine. So by your own logic, you should get the vaccine.
So when we look at side effects of conditions or vaccines, we don't just look at mortality, we look at morbidity. So for example, with measles, the mortality might not have been in the hundreds of thousands, but the amount of children hospitalized, the amount of children that got immensely sick leading to losing their hearing with certain conditions, that was higher. So it's not just about mortality, it's also about morbidity.
So, but if you look at the numbers, the totality of, you know, you look at your N+1 patient, which is the one that where you give vaccines, that's where that one patient gains benefit over detriment. That didn't exist in children with no other comorbidities. My example to you is a perfectly healthy child, no comorbidities, no diabetes, no obesity, no kidney, a perfectly healthy child, and then giving them a vaccine that has risk over and above benefit. I'll let you know, when I was a younger man, I was a smoker. Smokers are more prone to get lung cancer. You certainly wouldn't administer, as a responsible physician, you wouldn't administer me chemotherapy just because I smoked.
Correct. But I would encourage you to stop smoking as a means of prevention.
I did, but I...
Yeah, dude, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you control whether you smoke or not. You don't control whether you come into contact with a pathogen or not. They're fucking everywhere, and people carry them. So you don't have control over that. You can decide to not smoke. You can't decide to not come into contact with a virus. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Certainly wouldn't take chemo if I smoked.
Yeah, for sure.
There's an exposure. Children were
Well, the
recovering.
risk of chemo is much higher if you don't need it than is vaccine, which is why I said earlier in this conversation that vaccines carry a much higher bar than a pharmaceutical, because vaccines are given to healthy people. In your specific example, because this is hyper-specific, and I don't like necessarily using a hyper-specific example to create a rule or to make that the norm, because there are so many other childhood vaccinations that are a threat with the current potential of RFK Jr. coming in. So that's the concern for me. In your situation, the reason your child ended up getting the vaccine was because one of her parents wanted to get the vaccine, correct?
Thank you. Yes, it was nobody forced the kid to get the vaccine. The parent who was given custody decided to do that.
Correct.
If your wife was totally against it or her mother was totally against it, would she have gotten the vaccine?
I can't really say because it's a hypothetical that hadn't happened, but I presented all the reasoned evidence of what actually threatens a child.
You're admitting that you were lying. I can't really say. You very confidently earlier, multiple times, said that the court forced the kids to get the vaccine. You fucking liar, dude. Give me a break.
Over and above, we were talking single digits. And then to vaccinate blanketly a subset of our population that could potentially put them at risk, where the cure or supposed cure or preventative measure is worse than the disease.
Knowing what we know now, your statements are different than what we knew then. The situation that was going on in hospitals then is not the situation that's going on now.
Yeah, also it's just wrong, though, Mike. Like, just what he's saying is wrong. Like, it's not just about a then-now thing. Like, what he's saying is wrong. Way more people died and or experienced health problems due to COVID infection as opposed to COVID vaccination by orders of magnitude. Okay?
If your case was brought up in a court now, it would be a very different situation. And again, we're saying the court mandated it, and at the end they may have, but it wasn't against parents' will. It was against one of the parents' will, and one of the parents wanted it. So it's a very difficult decision with a lot of nuance that then takes the conversation away from whether vaccines are in general helpful and are safe to was it fair that a single vaccine was given to a single person based on this very complex, nuanced case? Do you agree?
I feel there's countless children that didn't have a voice piece like myself to present clear, unadulterated data. And in my case, the court leaned toward a pediatrician who was looking at data that now we know is bad, and we knew it was bad at that time.
No, just saying it's bad doesn't make it bad. It's what the fuck are you talking about?
So
the trends may change.
Do you think that pediatrician had some sort of motive to harm your child?
Follow the money.
So elaborate on that.
So
they got money for killing kids. Doctors made money by murdering children. Yep.
Money is involved. A pharmaceutical rep comes into your office. Why do they need to send a sales rep to sell you something that is inherently good?
And that happened for vaccines when? Where did that happen? Were you there at the hospital when that happened? Do you have any documentation of such an event happening? Or is this some bullshit you're pulling out of your ass?
The reason why pharmaceutical reps exist is a problematic history because there was a lot of corruption that happened with it. Now there's a lot of laws in place that prevent pharmaceutical reps from giving anything of value to physicians. So for example, I have never been compensated by a vaccine company to give vaccines. In fact, I'm going to take this one step further, and I don't say this publicly. I volunteer 2 to 3 days a week in the hospital. I don't get paid to be a doctor, nor do I take money to give vaccines to children. I do it because I'm passionate and I don't want to see children get sick with a vaccine-preventable illness. And the fact that that pediatrician recommended that for your child, I'm sure they were trying to do what was best for your child that they believed to be true based on the evidence that was presented to them. Will that always be right? Unfortunately not, because we don't have a crystal ball. But I promise you, the people that are working behind the scenes, the doctors, the nurses, we're trying our best. And I know this situation was really unfair, the way that it played out with perhaps your wife wanted one thing, you wanted another thing. That's not what we want for our patients. We want to prevent children from getting sick. We don't want to see a resurgence of measles. We don't want to see a resurgence of polio. We don't want paralyzed children. I promise you that. And I see it every day in my hospital.
I'll take you at your word, doctor.
Thank you. Yeah, and talking to Tom, I think it's an interesting case because it provides a lot of challenges, both from a philosophical and medical legal perspective. And I'm actually very glad that Tom was open to the fact that the information provided to him by me today was honest, was transparent, that he saw it as that. But again, I think it's very difficult to take that situation and then extrapolate it to childhood vaccinations as a whole.
I would credit Dr. Mike. I think he did a great job. Number one, I think it's courageous. I think his reasoning and his logic was valid. And he really, he changed my mind on a couple of things.
I believe Dr. Mike was really feeling a lot of what I said. It seems like it really hit a point with him, and I'm glad because I really care about people, and I could see that he does too. It's just that he's been miseducated by this system that's profit over people.
There were a few people who really believed that nature was the way.
God has already given us the natural remedies through foods, through like apricot seeds that
Apricot seeds cure cancer, you guys. God has given us the remedy to all the shit that has been killing us by the millions for all of human history. You're a fucking idiot.
Heal cancer, and they want to silence us for that.
I have to say that nature is absolutely violent. Nature created bacteria, nature created viruses. Nature also gave us an immune system and the ability to create vaccines and treatment for those issues.
They're trying to kill us with the vaccine. Like, they're trying to depopulate the world.
My goal in being here today is explaining the exact need as to how we've been able to eradicate smallpox, polio. And my hope is today that you could watch this video and see that vaccines work and save lives.
Okay, that was a long time. So I thought Dr. Mike did a very good job. I think that there are pros and cons to his approach. I will applaud. I will recognize and applaud the pros. I think that so first of all, with the anti-vaccine crowd, I was actually pleasantly surprised that not all of them were complete idiots. Some of them were complete idiots. The Jesus lady, fucking moron. The other woman with the short hair that was an AIDS denier, fucking moron. The dude at the end there with the colorful shirt pretending that he taught anything to Dr. Mike, fucking moron. Some of them, totally not morons. I think that the cop guy that he was talking to for 10 minutes at the end seemed to like had access to logic and was coming at it from a logical perspective, but has been misled. There was another guy with short hair that seemed to be not an idiot. So there were a handful of people. There was another guy who only spoke one time. He was kind of tall. So there were at least 5 people in there that I thought, like, okay, this is not a dumb person. They're making points that are not completely outrageous. They're just not, they've clearly been misled, but they're not falling for the most insane bullshit. They're just trying to follow up on what they perceive to be as, investigating pharma and looking at places in which they've been unethical and trying to, like, extrapolate from that a way that vaccines could be implemented unethically. Risk versus benefit. It's totally appropriate to look at vaccines or any drug and think about it in a risk versus benefit mind frame. That's totally fine. But just when you've been lied to about the risks and the benefits, you're going to come to a wrong conclusion about that. And I think for those people, like the cop guy at the end, it very well could be that Dr. Mike put a little bit of a seed of doubt in there, and made him go, why the fuck did I lie about the court forcing my kid to get vaccinated or something like that? That was a dumb thing to lie about. But it's like, who knows? In the 6 months since then, maybe he's softened up his position. I don't know. So that's the benefit of an approach like what Dr. Mike had. He definitely made some good points, and he's very affable and maybe got a little bit under the radar of a small handful of them. At least half of them, definitely not. Maybe as much as 3/4 of them, not a fucking iota. Colorful shirt guy, he's going home talking to his friends. Yeah, I taught the doctor some shit about nature and chemicals being bad and shit like that. That guy's a fucking moron, completely lost cause. So those are the pros. I think that he is, whereas if I was in there, all 20 of them would fucking hate me. Several of them probably would have thrown a punch at me within the first 20 minutes. I would have pissed all of them off incredibly. Now, the cons, though, right? There are people that he spoke to that rattled off lie after lie after lie after lie, or in their case, just misinformation after misinformation after misinformation that they fell for. I don't think that there were any bad faith actors in there. There were just people who are fucking idiots that heard lies that made them feel special, and they repeated them. It is, I think, a tremendous disservice when somebody rattles off all of this bullshit and then Mike jumps straight to taking one thing they said and trying to validate them on it and not debunking any of this bullshit. This woman is echoing HIV denial. Like it's insane bullshit, and that needs to be challenged. So that's the pro of what I do, is the moment they say some dumb shit like that, I'm interrupting them and burying them on it until they either have a panic attack and leave, or they admit, I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about when it comes to this. I don't know what any of these words mean. I very clearly fell for some lies, but right, that's the benefit of my approach. The con to my approach is that all of them would hate me and have their guard up the whole time. So pros and cons. That's why I say that I would not try to criticize Dr. Mike. I think that there's an aspect of what he did that was fantastic, and ultimately probably a better choice for something like this than someone like me. But we have to identify the negatives of such a soft approach, because there are so many lies and so much misinformation in there that just like doesn't get addressed, and it has to be, because that's how this disinformation perpetuates, is that they're in their echo chamber, and then for some of those lies, like, oh, I talked to Dr. Mike and he couldn't refute this. Well, he just chose not to address that. He knows how to refute all of the dumb shit you said. He just was being very calculating in the way that he tried to go about it. But yeah, on the whole, yeah, that, I mean, I'm actually surprised that I wasn't infuriated the whole time by every single person. Only about half of them were just like, oh my God, just the worst. And then some of them were just like, look, you're not a dumb person, and you have been misled. And I wish that you could see what a horrible person RFK is. And that's why I made that 2-hour video on RFK, highlighting not only all of the science that proves him wrong, but also all of the shit about what a disgusting person he is and all the horrible things that he's done in his life. Because you got to do it all. You got to tackle all of this stuff. Anyway, it is very late. It's almost 2 o'clock here. I'm tired. I want to go to bed, and I knew that this would be a long... I'm surprised, actually, that we only went approximately double the runtime of the video. Usually it's about triple. So, but anyway, that was fun. I guess I hope you guys enjoyed it, got something out of it, and I'll see you next time.